This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. Good evening, freakazoids. How the hell's it going, everybody? Yeah, thanks Cindy J up there for doing the timestamps on the last show. If anybody wants to rotate around with her, that'd be great. You know, while you're watching, you could just say, oh yeah, it's about 23 minutes in, we were talking about this, talking about that. I mean, I don't want somebody to be, like, every single night have to do that. So, but thank you, Cindy J. Thank you, Jim Lawn. Yep. You know what's amazing about Blue is, I mean, I gotta film it. You take him outside and it's sunny. He hates being flipped on his back, but as soon as whenever it's sunny, I think I told you guys this already, but you just flip him over and he's really calm, and then you start rubbing his shoulders while he's on his back looking up, and he just like disappears. I mean, turns into like a zombie. Eyes closed, and then you gingerly lay him down on a pillow that's upside down on his back. And he just stays there. Then you just sort of wonder, man, it's like a magical... It's pretty weird, actually. I gotta film it. And by the way, we still have some Blue notebooks. They didn't really sell as fast as I thought they were going to. So we got, I don't know, we have at least 30-something sitting there. So if you want one of the Blue notebooks, you... send 25 into PayPal. You get the notebook. I had to reorder the stress balls. I don't know when they'll be here, but we ran out of those. I had exactly 9 left. One of them, I think the one I sent to Danielle's friend. It's like I filled it in black, and then I don't know. That was the one I was doing. I was trying to see what it looked like. That's the only one I had left. But then I put the paw print on the back of it. So hopefully that's in there now. You need like permanent ink to put the paw print on now. But eventually it dried in there. Yeah. So you guys can see up in the upper left, that's the goal. Tomorrow night is our final night of the month. Donation night. Here, let me show you guys something. Yeah, so this is the spreadsheet that they send us. So we, as a channel, have donated $63,250 to identifiers, but $4,200, where I think $4,500 of that was Jeffrey Safara, or up here. I don't know. I mean, up here in this list, I think they're missing some money of his that he put in. So we've given $59,050 to the DNA fund, and yeah, it's been pretty amazing. So we got that. I know that some people don't actually appreciate that, but I mean, it's pretty good, right? Let's see. Then today on Identifiers International. It says right here, on this Giving Tuesday, we want to thank Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates for all him and his freaks have done to support Identifiers International. To date, he's funded 10 cases for us, and we're thankful for the continued support. Isn't that amazing, you guys? 10. So we, like I always say, we are a channel that makes a difference. Okay? So if you guys like to help, every single night you guys help support the channel with the stream goal, and you got the new super freak up at the top. You got to take me the hell off the screen there, and you get to be the super freak until somebody takes you off. I think every $20 is a new super freak. So there you go. And that's why we do what we do. You know, it also allows me to keep doing what I'm doing here. All right, let's see. So it's a pretty cool message there from Identifiers. Okay. Then we also have a couple updates here. So the remains of Madison Scott. Let's just watch this. Remember the one we talked about yesterday? She went missing from the campground back in 2011, I think.
A discovery more than a decade in the making.
Amber
RCMP
Maiden.
on scene here, South Slope Road, southeast of the community of Vanderhoof, where they have found the remains of Madison Scott.
Yeah, he says southeast. The media yesterday kept saying east of Vanderhoof.
Who had been missing since 2011. Almost 12 years to the day since she went missing at Hogsback Lake, which isn't that far from where we're standing right now.
The RCMP and support
About 10
services are
miles.
currently on the scene of a rural property east of Vanderhoof, where it has been confirmed that Madison Scott has
See, east of Vanderhoof.
been found.
The breakthrough in this cold case comes after years of an intense investigation by RCMP, the hope never fading to find Maddie.
Well, this investigation has been active and a priority since 2011 when she was reported missing, and has never been closed, and we have been actively looking for her and information into her disappearance. And days ago it was confirmed, and then later positive identity made by BC Coroner Service that it was in fact Madison Scott.
From above, the distance between
thank
where
you, Matt.
Maddie was found and where she was last seen in May of 2011 is not far, 18 kilometers in fact. Still unknown how she got there and who she might have been with. As police figure out those details, the community enters a period of mourning.
Use that word closure, and it's not a great word for it, but it is what we tend to use, right? But I mean, it gives a different path. I mean, we can't change the outcome, so it does give you knowing what's happening, and you can move forward then and deal with it.
The discovery by police having a heavy impact on many members of this small community. Many knew that.
Thank you, Billy Juliana, Mag, Amber Maiden, and Doohickey.
Ocean wave, amber waves of grey.
20-year-old Scott
Amber waves
and
of
others we
gray.
talked to had similar sentiments.
It's kind of bad for the whole community, you know. 20 years old. Somebody, she didn't get in, was she in the ground or in the lake or whatever?
Yeah, we don't know.
She didn't get there by herself. Somebody killed her.
People can hurt another person just for no reason. I mean, she was a nice person. I think I met her once because I'm just moved back here.
I feel like crying. I'm so happy for the family, though.
Thanks, Wendy Jensen.
Yeah. It's just, their grieving's been so long.
Seemingly, everybody in town knows of the Madison Scott story, no matter their age.
What do you remember from back when she went missing, I guess?
I remember it was very, emotions were very high because it's always been, a lake where, teenagers hung out and, had a lot of fun. So it was just very confusing. And I remember a lot of people, being really upset about it. and that was pretty much it. I don't remember a lot. I was in like grade 4.
You can see the driveway of the property where Madison's remains were discovered behind me. Police have set up a checkpoint. Extra resources are here on the ground. They will be here as long as they are needed, we are told. There's no indication of anyone in custody, any suspects in question at this point. The investigation still in very early stages.
Yeah, so it says the area has been secured and additional resources are anticipated to be on the scene. Let's see. I don't know if, let's see. RCMP have identified the body of missing Vanderhoof woman Madison Scott. Police are currently executing a search warrant on a rural property on the east side of Vanderhoof. The area has been secured and additional resources are anticipated to be on the scene for as long as may be required. They actually came up with there's been a road identified in various articles out there. And it's right here, and it actually looks exactly like what we're seeing here. It's South Loop, let's see, yeah, South Loop Road, South Slope Road. And I remember looking at the road, and it's weird because Google Earth has this weird line that doesn't really match up with the road, but it goes over here, and I was thinking, well, that looks sort of normal, and then I went over here, and I saw this property with just, looks like trash, and then another one that's kind of got garbage on it. And it looks like this is the property that they were searching. And if you look at the location that Madison was found, there's like a road that goes straight there. I mean, as soon as you leave here, you're on Hogsback Lake Road, and you just keep traveling up like this, take a left here, and let's see, then you just stay on it. You stay on this highway right here, or whatever you call this thing here, and it just curves up here. You stay on the main road, really, and then just right here is the only time that you kind of deviate off of it and go right there. So whoever this is had a direct line and may have known where the lake was. It sounds like there was intel to go search that property, and then they found her. So I can't imagine there not being an arrest made soon, right? Got to be an arrest made soon here. And there's no street view here, but you can see that's a dirt road, and that's exactly what that guy was standing on. There's a row of tree right next to him. Like you can see in this picture right here, there's just a row of trees going all the way down there. And that's what this is. So I guess it could be over here, but I saw an aerial map here. Now, does anybody consider that east of Vanderhoof? I mean, here's Vanderhoof. I guess if you were like on the east side of Vanderhoof down, it should be south. If you're going to refer to any direction at all, it'd be south. Now, is it southeast? I mean, I guess if you go down here and a slight little tiny bit of east. But east to me would have been over here. Yeah. Not way down here south. And then over here is the lake. It's about 10 miles away. I bet you anything, if you put the GPS coordinates of this location and this location, it would go right exactly on this road, take a left, and go right there. Guarantee it. Anyway, so if you just got here, looks like we got more people. We did get thanked on Identifiers International, their website on Facebook. It says on this Giving Tuesday, we want to thank Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates for him and all his freaks have done to support Identifiers International. To date, he's funded 10 cases for us, and we're thankful for the continued support. So there you go. That's just sort of an indication that all the stuff that we do during each of the months and all through the year, it makes a difference. Now, tomorrow I'm going to send in basically maybe the entire remaining amount that I'm going to donate to them, because we currently have, I think, $12,000 left, but need to still start building up for those other 2 cases that we're funding. All right, so there you go. Because we just got 2 more, if you remember. They look like pretty interesting ones. What else we got here? Oh yeah, now this case right here. You know the one, I think this is probably the new internet sensation because everybody wants it to be Gabby Petito. But guess what? I'm not going to be... it's not interesting to me, okay? It's just not interesting. This case is like just a nothing burger. Just two drugged out people traveling around the country, bashing each other. It's just like, I mean, who's the victim here? This guy right here says when he got to the scene, he saw the guy standing up and punched her in the head. Yeah, then that gave her the black eye, right? And then he got in between him, and then the cops show up, but the other guy's face is all bloody. That means she hit him in the face prior to him hitting her in the face. But then she has bruises all over her arms, so did he hit her in the arms and stuff first, and then she slapped him in the face or punched him, whatever the hell it was. This is just a ridiculous story, okay? You can see some of this.
Are you tired of being bored at home?
I'll skip this in a second.
Ready to get out and have some fun? K1 Speed is the ultimate adrenaline pump.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Do you have a lighter?
Yeah, do you have a lighter? Jeez. Yeah, I need to smoke some. Yeah. The whole thing is just garbage, It's not Gabby Petito, everybody. It's not even close. Yeah, it's another body camera.
Then we'll go from there.
Thanks, Junipers, Tarot, and Magic. Yeah, so basically what this guy says, then there's other video of him, like look at him, he got his nose punched in before that guy even showed up. She's been found actually in California now, so she's not even, look at the title here. Tennessee woman found in California after a violent cross-country road trip caught on camera. Yeah, I don't know who's at fault here. It's just not really, it's not interesting to me. This is one of those just trashy, sensationalistic stories with no intrigue whatsoever. Just two drug addicts driving around the country, bashing each other, and it's just, something that should be on the Jerry Springer show, okay? So if you want to go watch that, and I'm not covering it because you wish I would, go watch the other idiots that are covering it, okay? I'm not going to do it. I'm just giving you the update right there, and we can just call it a day.
Yeah, Grant, so proud of you for getting mentioned. You're truly a blessing for what you give back to the community. Smiley face.
Well, thank you.
Sparkling heart.
Junipers, Tarot, and Magic, and Terry. Yep, taco stop. What else? Anything else in here? Shoot. No, not really. Yeah, I guess they had an update on that John Forsyth, but it's not really an update. So look at the Sun here, what was their title? Oh yeah, Dr. John Forsyth. Remember the guy that was supposed to go to the hospital and they found his car next to the park? Look at the title here. Dr. John Forsyth, missing updates. Missouri man sent chilling text to fiancé minutes before he stopped responding. Then I kept reading through this. Where's the chilling text? Here's what it was. I'll see you a little bit later. The doctor wrote his brother. What's chilling about that? But after a short while, the father of 7 stopped speaking and was observed going to his RV, which was parked near the hospital. So I guess it's a RV that he was seen driving to, but then his car is found over there by the park, and he's no longer. So maybe he went somewhere in his car, and then somebody put him there. We just don't have enough information to even go over it. If we went in order here, these. Let's see. Go back to the bottom. Forget it. We've already gone over it. When there's some breaking news or something, we can start over. Isn't that chilling? Hey, I'll see you later. Wow. Well, let me see. Maybe I can do it. How far down is this? And it just keeps going. Let's see. Does it stop right here? Okay. Forsyth was last seen on Sunday, May 21st at around 7 a.m. The Cassville Police Department said friends and family began to worry when he never arrived for a shift at Mercy Hospital. Missing work is very out of character, his brother told CBS and Fox. This is very unusual for him. This is a punctual man who has never missed a day of work in his life, not even for being sick. John Forsyth is 5 feet 11, 180 pounds with brown hair and blue eyes. He was last seen wearing a black shirt and blue or gray pants. Police do not suspect there is any threat to the public at this time. John Forsyth's brother said the local CBS and Fox affiliate, he's a person who's admired by a lot of people. He's a great doctor who works very hard, and he's given a lot of free time to helping people. I've been through a lot of health issues in the last year, and he's been like a guardian angel. John Forsyth received his degree from Ross University Medicine. He lives in a trailer near the hospital and reportedly went there for a short amount of time after leaving the clinic on Sunday morning. His fiancée called his behavior odd and said that she hasn't heard from him. Forsyth's family is helping the investigation. John's sister, Tiffany Adeline, has thanked the public in a post. I really appreciate the attention this is getting. Thank you, everyone of you who has responded or shared this post. John's car was discovered in Cassville Aquatic Park. Richard Forsyth, Forsyth's younger brother, said that his brother's wallet, work briefcase, and passport were found in his black car. The black Infiniti sedan was unlocked, which is very uncharacteristic, he told Daily Beast on Saturday. According to Forsyth's fiancée, he had no business being in the part of the park where his car was discovered. Sergeant Donald Brevet told the reporters the vehicle was secured, the keys were in it. Oh, and by the way, if you've been sending me, I haven't been able to read many emails today because I had the contractors over here trying to, working out some issues with my garage and trying to get the show together and stuff like that. So a lot of emails have gone. Like I saw Bama Forever sent me one. I haven't been able to read it really yet. I hate not being able to read them right away. It's just like, shit, I gotta. Let's see. Forsyth's relatives say that missing work is exceedingly uncommon for him. He wouldn't miss a shift. My dad is a very logical person, and I kind of tend to be that way, as well as I can't think of any logical conclusion as to why he would just vanish. Hopefully he met somebody and just wanted to take off. Although he left his car at in a weird place. Forsyth's son, JR, told Daily Beast that he first learned about the engagement 2 days after his father went missing. Oh, so this is a new engagement, but that's interesting. Approximately a month has passed since JR last spoke to his father, but he said that they had a heart-to-heart, and Forsyth planned to see him and other family members this weekend in Utah. He continued saying he was aware of his father's insanely busy schedule between his work, the ER, and the crypto firm he co-founded. Ooh, a crypto firm, huh? Well, that makes you wonder a little bit there. Forsyth's family set up a Facebook page asking people to post any tips or information that would help them locate him. In a Facebook post made on May 29th, John Forsyth's sister, Tiffany, wrote, "My brother has now been missing for a week. I'm grieving, I'm afraid, and it feels like the world is tipped into sheer chaos. If anyone has any information at all, please email findjohn2023@gmail.com. I've often felt like Johnny and I are two sides of the same coin. Our lives have led us in very different directions, but in the last couple of years we've been bonding over our intense desire to understand the mysteries of the universe. And I've treasured those conversations like precious jewels. I really I rarely meet anyone I can toss around ideas with like he can. Now he's disappeared seemingly into thin air. We have so much more to talk about. I'm so afraid he's just gone. Please don't let this be how this ends. The hole that will leave in my life will be empty forever. Please help us find him. So there he is. That crypto thing was a little bit interesting to me. There's a lot of money in there. That's the only thing that sort of stood out. And the fact that he didn't even tell his kid that he was engaged. You know, what's that whole thing there? The fiance and the crypto. Those are the two elements that are, you know, they sort of stick out a little bit. Right? So, I mean, we have that one all mapped out too. That was on the 23rd, I think we covered that. Looks like Mag is the super freak up there. She is the super freak. All right, now we're going to talk about there was an unidentified person called, they referred to as Trunk Lady. I mean, boy, what a great name, huh? Because she was found in a trunk. So here's how the story developed back in the day. Looks like this. This is a 1969 November 1st article here. Look at that, bones of a giant sloth unearthed. So right here. The body of an unidentified woman clad in filmy green nightgown was found stuffed in a trunk yesterday. So it's interesting, she's got a nightgown on, so likely she was killed at home while wearing a nightgown, right? What is this right here? Float of umbrella watcher. Doesn't that look like that looks like a head right there. like a nose and a couple eyes. I don't know what it is, but that could just be pareidolia, something like that. That might not be a head at all. You see what I'm saying? This is just totally random, but this right here, you think that's a head that's sitting on whatever that is, a piece of cake? Or is that just pareidolia where it looks like that, but it isn't? It's absolutely meaningless to what we were just talking about. It just popped into my face.
Chewbacca? Oh, I'll be Chewbacca if you want me to.
Okay. Well, as a lot of people wish we could do all kinds of different things. Just send me an email, okay? Thanks. All right, anyways, here we go. We're on this one. The body of unidentified woman clad in filmy green nightgown was found stuffed in a trunk yesterday about 3 p.m. within view of a busy St. Petersburg restaurant parking lot at 4200 34th Street South. The black steamer-type trunk had been placed under a tree about 50 feet from the southeast corner. Oh yeah, let me see. So I think I found the right spot. This is that address. Let me say southeast corner. There it is, southeast. Yeah. So I think I do have the right one. Well, wait, yeah, definitely southeast corner. Although I don't. Well, no, wait, hold on. So they're saying southeast corner of. Well, see, one problem we have is we don't know what it looked like back then, because that's like a McDonald's or something. There. Oh yeah. Hold on. Okay, well that rules out that piece of property. When they say southeast corner, that must be over here. Man, to me it looked like it was right there, but it could look like anything. We don't have any idea what it looked like back then. That building wasn't there, though, for sure. Anyways, let's see what it said. And go to page 3B here. And that's the trunk right there. The body of an... Okay, I guess that didn't work. Let me keep moving. There we go. There's a wooded area to the south. Now I need to go back. "10 feet from a well-worn car trail that winds through the heavily... Okay. From the southeast corner of the parking lot, about 10 feet from where a well-worn car trail that winds through the heavily wooded area, or wooded area to the south. A preliminary medical examination revealed the woman had been dead from 48 to 56 hours and had been beaten in the area of the head and possibly strangled. Detective Lieutenant Charles Myers said there were no immediate clues to the woman's identity. He said the woman was white, in her early 20s, about 5 feet 9, and weighed about 130 pounds. She had brownish black hair, he said. An autopsy was to be performed last night by Dr. John Schinner, Assistant South Pinellas Medical Examiner. He said the woman was curled up on her side inside the trunk, and a towel had been wrapped around her head. He said other marks or scars were hard to discern because she was pretty badly decomposed. Myers refused to identify the woman who discovered the trunk and called police. He picked up one end of the trunk, found it was pretty heavy, and called police. Patrolman James R. Price was sent to the scene but was unable to lift the locked trunk into the back of a police cruiser. Patrolman Joseph J. Palmazano helped him open the lock, and they found the body inside. Police crime technicians last night fingerprinted the woman in an effort to establish her identity and sent the prints to the FBI. About a dozen detectives searched the area for clues and questioned restaurant employees and patrons. Apparently, no one had noticed the trunk under the tree, detectives said, or had noticed any suspicious activity. Myers said if anyone has a missing friend or relative fitting the description of the dead woman, contact the police. Let's see. Yeah, so here's the picture of the trunk, well, in its natural state, right there. And so the reason I was thinking it was right here was because if you go down to the ground here, I mean, it almost looks perfect. Just years later. So you've got that this bigger tree right here. And then, you know, just kind of off into the corner, like maybe over here. That's sort of what that looks like to me, but I mean, that could be anything. Don't have any idea. Yeah, could be over here. But that spot over there looked pretty good. They called it a restaurant, now it's a Wendy's. I don't know what it was back then. But anyways, it's somewhere right around, this is the address. It lands right on this building, but they're saying the southeast, which would be over on this side, but this side looks exactly how you might think because it kind of, there's opening to the right. Thank you, Teresa P. Yeah, you know what? I just thought of that, man. You could make a like a recipe book, right? Like if you have your own recipes, then you could just call it something like Teresa P. Or Teresa P's. Instead of recipe, you get it? You see? Oh, forget it. Actually, it would be kind of cool, though, right? Like, if you were somebody named Teresa that knew how to make recipes. Ah, man. And I got all the jokes, man. It's... So this is the next day in the paper. The body of a young woman remained unidentified last night at the morgue at Mound Park Hospital. It was found Friday afternoon stuffed in a trunk in a wooded area in South St. Petersburg. An autopsy report revealed yesterday the primary cause of death was strangulation by garroting or ligature. The autopsy was performed by Dr. John Schinner, Assistant South Pinnell's medical examiner. He said he had been dead from 48. He said she had been dead from 48 to 56 hours. He described the girl in her early 20s as having been a statuesque beauty with medium-length dark hair. Hey, thank you, 15 Lee. Detective Charles Meyer said a cord similar to the string tie type was found loosely wrapped around her throat, but he would not say if it had been used to kill her. Myers also said a check of the dead woman's fingerprints with the FBI in Washington failed to shed any light on her identity. He said x-rays of her death and body had been completed, and copies of the dental x-rays might probably be sent to the Bay Area dentist. Thank you, 15 Lee. Body was found around 3 p.m. Friday. I mean, you look at her wearing pajamas, so she's likely strangled where she lived and put into a, the trunk. A man whose identity was not disclosed called police after discovering the trunk. It had been placed under a tree about 50 feet from a busy restaurant parking lot at 4200 34th Street South. The woman was curled up inside the trunk, Shiner said. She was clad in a sheer green nightgown and had not been sexually assaulted. So what does that tell you right there, just that information?
This is becoming my favorite social outlet. Smiley face. Some really great people here. Heart.
Well, cool. Yeah. I appreciate that. That's what I think, too. It's really fun. I mean, it's fun during the day, too, with the Arius thing, because it's a little lighter, you know? And everybody's, like, joking around and stuff. And I mean, it was hilarious. I mean, listen to this. A couple days ago, I'm just changing topics really fast. Juan Martinez says something about, he's like battling with this lady named Alice LaViolette. And she says to him, "Are you angry with me?" To the prosecutor. I only have this part now for this show since we don't really talk about that case here, but here to...
Are you angry at me?
That's what she said to him, just right there. And then today, he kept saying, and he says, "If you were in my group, I'd have you go on a timeout right now." It doesn't sound as good on audio, so I didn't play it, but I put you on timeout to the head prosecutor. Oh, it's so hilarious. Are you... Yeah, it's like, "Mr. Martinez, are you angry with me?" And then, like, the whole audience laughed, at least on Jody's side. And then the judge had to tell people to shut the hell out. Like, "Hey, don't laugh. No outbursts." That was awesome. Yeah, today she said, if you were in one of my groups, I'd put you on timeout. You got to go watch it, Cindy. Yeah, you must have missed it. Today she told him she'd put him in... Yeah, right, I said that, yeah. Thanks for repeating exactly what I said. Let's see. I always need that. She was clad in a sheer green nightgown and had not been sexually assaulted, Shiner said. Meyer said the woman was 5'9", weighed 130 pounds. So a pretty tall woman in that trunk. More than 24 telephone calls have been received regarding the murder, Meyer said. Detectives were busy yesterday checking out leads furnished by callers concerned over missing friends or relatives. And then today was like really on that Arias channel, or show, whatever you want to call it, was so graphic, just ridiculous stuff. Man, talking about KY jelly and what was the other one? Astroglide and shit. it was ridiculous. I don't think you've ever heard anything like this one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was crazy. That's right. I said, hey, maybe I should have Astroglide merch, like it was pretty funny. Anyways, murdered woman identity still a mystery to police. This is the last article here. Thank you, Traveling Teresa. Yeah, Alice LaViolette brought up the Astroglide. It's like, oh, thank you for letting us know you're aware of all these different...
Google's Astroglide.
Yeah, St. Petersburg's detectives are still trying to identify a murdered woman whose body was found in a trunk in a South St. Petersburg wooded area Friday afternoon. We've checked out over 24 leads, and none of them have... thank you, Traveling Teresa. And none of them have panned out so far. Myers said that the body was so badly decomposed for visual identification, and the only avenues open to finding out who she was are fingerprints and through dental analysis. He added there are no visible scars or other identifying marks. Myers said the fingerprints had been sent to the FBI in Washington with no results so far. The medical examiner report showed the young woman had been beaten in the area of the head and said the probable cause of death was by strangulation. The young woman was 5'9", weighed approximately 130 pounds. I think what she was is she was at home, smashed in the head, then strangled. There's no sexual assault, so that would either be like a robbery or somebody direct like the husband or something, right? Oh, and then it was really pretty sad. It wasn't like Daniel Armentrout. She had a funeral, and look at that, there wasn't a soul there. But she was treated well. I mean, look at, she's got the casket and everything, and then she was buried, but there wasn't a soul. There wasn't a soul at the place. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's brutal. Just not a person there, other than the priests themselves. All right, so now we'll listen to the press conference here.
This is a case that has perplexed the department. For a long time, it was thought to be the oldest cold case that we had on the department. We now know that we have a few from 1962 and 1964 through our cold case efforts.
When I fixed the audio on this one, it was single audio. Now it sounds great. It came out of one side.
But in 1969, this was always known as the trunk lady case. Ironically, when we started doing the research, I wanted to find out if the original case detectives were still around. And I'd like to point out that Detective Paul Drolet, 87 years of age. Sorry I called you out on that. But Paul is the original case detective in 1969 that worked on this case. This was his assignment, as well as several others that were there at the time. Bill Carlisle was the sergeant at the time, and they put a great deal of effort in trying to resolve this matter. I'm going to kind of read off a couple notes to stay on track, and then I'll go touch on a few other areas. So On Halloween night, Halloween day, 1969, a little over 53 years ago, detectives and officers were sent out to the 4200 block at 32nd Street South. At the time, it was called the Oyster Bar. Now it's just a church that's located at that location. When they got there, they noticed this trunk that was in the field. Two juveniles observed two white male subjects pull up in a pickup truck, place the trunk into the field, and then leave. Officers arrived on scene. They opened up the trunk, and they found a body of a female inside the trunk, wrapped in plastic. One of the things, and it's totally different with investigative techniques now than then. Paul and his investigators, they were stuck with writing letters to agencies, to making phone calls to agencies, trying to find out who has a missing person, who has someone that could look is a demographic.
This was a really weird press conference because they presented 3 cold cases and stuff, and they just sort of, like, at the end of this part, they rushed the lady off, and then boo, right over to something else with no extra comments or anything. It was just odd.
Traffic that would be similar to the female that we found that day in 1969, and after years of trying, it just never got any traction. Theories abound, and unfortunately, they never were able to identify them.
Thank you, Danielle.
In 2010, we wanted to start identifying some of our Jane Does and John Does. In this case, the victim was buried as a Jane Doe in the cemetery off of 49th Street, up at the Kansas City-Pinellas Park border.
Well, you'll find out. I don't think she was anywhere near home when this happened.
And there she was till 2010. In 2010, we had her exhumed. We attempted to get DNA from her remains. Unfortunately, that just didn't happen. It was too degraded, and again, the case went cold. Over the years, multiple different news outlets have touched upon it, and it was
1969 is when the trunk was found. Thank you, Cindy Lynn.
Something that we just weren't able to think we were ever going to get any resolution on it. So late last year, earlier this year, the detectives in this case went through it again. And that is one of the things I want to highlight with the cold cases. It takes persistence. It takes going back and looking at things that may not have been available to individuals back in 1969, but more importantly, when we're looking at things in 2010, what could we have missed? And the detectives noticed that there was a section of hair that had not been tested, and we sent it to a private lab. When the hair sample was sent to the private lab, we were finally able to get a DNA profile. And that's only a step. That's a stepping stone on that. After we were able to get that DNA profile, Otham Labs was Otham Labs was able.
It's Otham Labs, not Otham. This guy never said it right, but that's okay.
Able to then run it through a DNA genealogy database, and after 53 years, the trunk lady finally has a name.
Thank you, Annie. Later, hair down deep.
We were able to do quite a bit of research as well through the with the DNA hit, and we were able to locate some of her family members. So I'd like to point out, it's no longer the trunk lady. Her name is Sylvia June Atherton. Sylvia June Atherton. She was killed when she was 41 years of age. She left behind 5 children, and she was from the Tucson, Arizona area. One of the things that we've been able to stitch
Tucson, Arizona, and this is in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Together.
By the way, the same place that I tracked down the fugitive Anthony Greeno at the time.
Is there really no St. Petersburg ties? She left the Tucson area with a number of her children. Had left 2 of them with a previous husband.
Using one single shot that his camera accidentally put up in the air with not one. There's nothing identifiable other than a design on a cop car in the background. And I was able to figure out it was St. Petersburg and then the exact stone he was standing on. Took me about 2 hours, but boom. That was probably my best sleuthing visual image find that I've ever had.
Chicago, and then was never seen again by her children. We have her daughter Cylin on the Zoom today. She was a child when her mother went missing and had not known the whereabouts of her mother for the past 53 years. So through their investigative techniques, we were able to kind of get some.
Oh, by the way, he's telling people out there, that same fugitive, now he's playing a victim he created some fake accounts and had a conversation with himself using the fake accounts, and then used that in court to pretend, and the judge believed it regarding somebody else. And then in the same video that he made, he said that what did he say? That I did something like bugged one of his vehicles or something. The guy is just a psycho, absolutely a total idiot.
The names together, and this is more of a thing. We don't have the resolution on who killed her yet. This is where like amateur sleuths will come in. This is where we're asking for assistance to kind of.
Yes, this is kind of cool, you guys. Like so.
Who killed her yet? This is where like amateur sleuths will come in. This is where we're asking for assistance to kind of put the pieces together and the gaps together. We do know that this trunk was their property. We do know that she was remarried. We do know that her husband at the time passed away in 1999 and never listed her as missing. We do know that he never listed her on any bankruptcy records. So you can see there's some inferences there that we have to know that she was remarried.
Okay, so she got remarried. This is the answer.
We do know that her husband at the time passed away in 1999 and never listed her as missing.
Never listed her as missing.
We do know that he never listed her on any bankruptcy records. So you can see there's some inferences there that we have to kind of fill in the gaps. But
Right, so he never reported missing, so that's definitely him. And guess what? Remember how she was wearing the nightgown? Right? I mean, that means she was in her home. Likely, right? It could be at a hotel, I guess. And then she's not sexually assaulted, but she was strangled to death. So
mainly we wanted to bring forward the fact is she has a name now after 53 years. Her family does have the closure, and that's the closure that we're trying to bring forward. These are the steps, just like with Juicy's family. The closure that we need to bring forward, we may not always be able to bring an arrest forward, but we need to be able to show that we still care. And we need to be able to kind of bring forward our efforts on doing so. So I'll take a few questions. I know
all right, that's what that means when somebody strangled Lauren. Yeah.
Kind of bounce around a little bit, and then
we know that. Everybody knows that.
I encourage, not only if you have any questions for the case detectives that picked it up, but Detective Drolet that came down, as well as family members that are here present, as well on Zoom, how you would like to break that down and how you'd like to be able to kind of touch on those cases. So we've utilized mostly the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for the better half of a decade, if not a little bit longer. We started using the Pinellas County lab after that, because Pinellas County, we are fortunate to have our own lab here in Pinellas County. It does have some limitations. In this case is why we had to use a private lab, but for the most part, we have a phenomenal relationship not only with our lab locally here, but with also the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So the better half of at least a decade or two that we've been able to utilize DNA testing, being able to kind of work through it. That wasn't always available, obviously, with the original case detectives in these cases.
And to the outside world, it may seem, well, why don't you just do testing, right? Why don't you just do DNA testing? Is it that easy or no?
For us to be able to send that information out? Well, it shows you the challenge that we faced, because when we exhumed the victim's body in 2010, it was too degraded at that time. We couldn't get DNA from any of the remains, so we were able to find one other section that we were able to kind of go in that direction. But you can see it's just not easy, especially with the older cases. DNA wasn't thought of. Preservation of evidence necessarily wasn't as well thought of on the way we do things today. We have touch DNA. We have regular DNA that comes through bodily fluids. 15, 20 years ago, that was never even thought of. And and if it was prohibited because we couldn't send it out to private labs to be able to do that. Now we're able to work with our partners here and be able to take care of that.
In the Richard Evans case, the fingerprint that you guys tied to the suspect in this case, was that fingerprint pulled when this was originally investigated or when it was recently revisited?
So it was pulled when it was originally investigated, but the suspect in this matter had not been arrested. So we didn't have a fingerprint to compare it to, and was not arrested until a number of years later, which is important. And that's one of the things I wanted to highlight, is because when the case goes cold, they may not get looked at again. So when the detectives are able to then pull back up, they're able to resubmit and go over evidence that somebody might have missed the first time or wasn't available for a DNA hit at that point, or a fingerprint hit in this case.
The genealogy test that the Texas lab uses, is that kind of like 23andMe, or like, what does that look like?
That was a question I was asking and trying to get resolution for. I wasn't exactly sure what genealogy. That's why I highlighted as Autumn Labs, but that's something we can get with you. I don't have that information. We were trying to figure that out on Friday, to be honest with you.
For sure, yeah, I just figured with all those popularity of those tests, people are just interested in like how you actually go down the path of.
I was too. Yeah. So that was one of the questions that I had too. So
as a follow-up to that, would one of her family members need to have been in a database for them to locate a family member?
yes.
How that works?
So initially we had a DNA hit on her son, and we were able to find other family members, which is important too because we've only found 2 of her family members. There are still 2 others we'd like to track down, her adult daughter and also the child that she had with her husband. We don't know the whereabouts of either one of them. It's difficult because you're trying to retrack something from 53 years ago, and it's not as easy as the Google searches as today. So marriages, changes, even name changes as we go, those are the tough parts that we need to kind of put together.
How many cold cases are currently open here within the department?
We average about 200 open murder cases that go back to the early 1960s. We have 3 or 4 missing persons cases, and then they also do touch upon some of the older sexual battery cases as well. That number has stayed consistent for the better half of 20 years. We usually are able to close a few every year, and then we have had a really good closure rate with homicides the past 4 or 5 years. So luckily, those cases have not gone onto their desks, and they continue to work at the older cases. But that number has stayed stagnant. When I was a homicide detective, it was right around 206 to 212. I think we're about 220 right now.
How many are on that team working it?
The 2 of them. It's the 2 of them. That's what they do. That's what they do. That is what they do. They peel it back, and then during time with some of our other detectives, if they'd like to as invest some of the time in it as well, this is the opportunity. And these are the faces too where people can call in, because we never really had that. It was worked part-time.
Thank you, Ozzy, Trisha. 5 new members. Make sure to check those. Make sure that none of them were just created.
It was one of the cases that people would call in, and you would just get a detective and say, okay, I'll try to dust the book off and see what I can do in between that. We've invested the resources in to be able to do that, and that's why we're able to bring some of this forward. Because at the point that you brought about the fingerprint on the bicycle, it may have stayed for another 10 years, and we would have known. If it hadn't been for pulling back and saying, listen, I need to take a minute, I need to look at something, did somebody miss something? And those are really what we need to do, because it's no fault of their own. Detectives retire, detectives move on, cases come in and we get hits later on, and if we don't have the ability to kind of look at that, it loses something. So they get to do that full time.
So this 15-year-old suspect was later incarcerated, and that's how his print came to be notified?
Correct. He was arrested for something later on, and that's how the print made it in the system.
Was he himself later a victim of a crime? Or
No, it was natural causes. Correct. I should say natural, but something that was not homicidal. So. All right. Well, good. Well, I appreciate it. What I'd like for everybody to do is please take a moment. I don't know how, Yolanda, if you could please come up, you best to do it. We can even have somebody go in the side room if we need to. But I encourage, Detective Reck came down. He lives in Clearwater now. Came down, and he would love to be able to talk about it. We have Juicy's family here, and then Sylvan is on the Zoom, and I'll let Yolanda try to figure out the best way to handle that.
I think we can start with the Zoom interview with Sylvan Gates. She's coming to us from California, and we have the technology working right now, so I think it would be a good idea to talk to her first, and then we'll talk to Juicy's family afterwards. Okay, so Sylvan, they can see and hear you, so I'm going to have, if any of the reporters would like to ask a question, go ahead.
Hi, Sylvan. My name is Vanessa Ariza. I'm with ABC here in Tampa. Just for the record, could you spell your first and last name for all of us, please?
Sure. Sylvan, S as in Sam, Y, L-L-E-N, last name James, J-T-E-S. Did you hear me?
Yes, we're trying to get better clarity to hear you. Is there a malt box or?
Yeah, we're trying to.
Speakers just come up through here. Do you guys want to use your?
Okay, so then we're going to try to put the microphone to the TV so that they can hear you.
All right, you guys are about 50% of the goal. Be great to get to that goal earlier in the show, so the rest of it will just be me reading for like 2 hours.
I think they've got it. So we can just ask you if you don't mind speaking up too, because that will help with the speakers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, is that better, guys?
Do those speakers go any louder?
Can you hear me better? I can speak up a little bit if that helps.
That does help. That does help quite a bit.
Okay. Shall I spell my name one more time?
No, they have the spelling of your name. It's in the paperwork that I handed out.
Okay.
Oh, they want to get a mic check, so if you could do it one more time, please, if you could spell it.
Sure. It's Celine.
Right, Jessica, but she was looking at the membership prices, and then she got a free one right in the middle of looking at the membership prices.
S is in Sam. Y-L-L-E-N. Last name Gates. Gates.
All right, Celine, thank you for your patience. How old were you when your mother went missing?
My mother left Tucson. I was about 5 years old at the time. She left in 1965 and disappeared with my younger sister, who was only 4 years old or 3 years old at the time, and my older sister, who was 19, and her husband, and they also had a baby that was about the same age as my sister, Kimberly. This adds to my interest, of course, of my mother disappearing, but of finding my two sisters.
How has it been through those decades, not knowing where your mother was, and then to receive that phone call to get a finality of it?
Well, it was shocking because it had been
I think
so
this
many
is one of the
years,
Dodgers right here.
we had no idea what happened to her. She did leave with another brother that she left in Chicago, as the officer mentioned, just about 6 months after they left Arizona. And so he came back to Tucson. But we thought we would hear from them at some time, but life goes on. I was young and growing up, and I tried a few times to try to find her, but there was just nothing. It had gone cold. So it is a relief, a sad relief to finally found her. And she was, of course, this terrible way to die just a few years after she left the state. So.
Have you heard about this case prior to learning that this was in fact your mother?
Never. And it was so shocking. We had no idea, none whatsoever. The whole family, my brothers, two brothers, were shocked. It's a big surprise, but in a way it's a comfort. Well, you wonder why she never tried to contact us in all these years. You would think.
Yeah, the part that doesn't make a lot of sense is she disappeared in she left in 1965, but then she was found in 1969. Are we saying that she was in the suitcase for 4 years? That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Gosh, she would have tried to reach out or something. And I went on Ancestry in hopes to locating two sisters, figuring my mother, because of age, probably would have passed by then. So we've been trying to find a sister that was only 4 or 5 years older than my older sister these many years, thinking Ancestry would help. What did happen is we found another brother that my mother had that she had it's quite a story in itself.
I think in 65 she left, and she probably lived somewhere with somebody for a while. And those other kids grew up somewhere, but something happened to her. It'd be really interesting to hear from the children that went with her. That's where the investigation should start. If any of those kids are still alive, those are the ones that are going to have answers for things.
And he knew had been put up for adoption. It was in between having older children and then right before she had us. So it's a very, very strange story. My mother's life was
No, well, law enforcement needs to hear
quite
from them.
strange.
You mentioned that your older sister had a husband and a child. Is there any contact with them, or are they also unable to be found?
Unable to be found, and that's what's so curious is my brother got a call back around 68 or 69 from the St. Petersburg, Florida area, which was my sister, but she just left a message with a grandparent. She thought he'd been killed in the Vietnam War. This is such a tangled web. I don't know how deep to get into this, but she found out that he wasn't dead. So I know she was in the St. Petersburg, Florida area at that time. That's the only time we've ever heard of that area. But what's surprising is, why did she report my mother? My mother's missing, or what happened to she thought he'd been killed in the Vietnam War. This is strange.
I want to go
you
back.
mentioned that your older sister had a husband and a child.
So they still lived in St. Petersburg. So maybe they made it all the way to St. Petersburg, but then he didn't report her missing, so nobody knew how to identify her.
Them, or are they also?
I don't know, man. That doesn't make any sense either.
Unable to be found, and that's what's so curious is my brother got a call back around.
You know what they should do in some of these missing persons cases is say, is there anybody you know at all, anybody anywhere who knows somebody in this age range that you haven't heard from and they disappeared suddenly? Give us the name. Okay? You might get a lot of names, but you might get the right one has a better chance of making it in there, instead of just, hey, we found somebody in a box, and yeah. And people just might not be thinking, oh yeah, I've got somebody that's missing. Because I mean, if this lady lives in St. Petersburg, the daughter, then did they actually live in St. Petersburg and she just got, murdered and put into the trunk? But how come nobody in St. Petersburg said out loud, wow, well, where is so-and-so? Where is, what's her name? I think I don't have it sitting right there, but, where is my friend? So that's when you come out and say, is there anybody that you know that has gone missing that you communicated with regularly? Then work with that. I mean, it'll be a lot more lead generation, I can tell you that.
68 or 69 from the St. Petersburg, Florida area, which was my sister, but she just left a message with a grandparent. She thought he'd been killed in the Vietnam War. This is such a tangled web. I don't know how deep to get into this, but she found out that he wasn't dead. So I know she was in the St. Petersburg, Florida area at that time. That's the only time we've ever heard of that area. But what's surprising is, why did she report my mother? My mother's missing. Or what happened to my younger sister, who was only 4 at the time? What happened to her? Both of them, we've not heard from any of them.
And now, as investigators are asking for anybody to share additional information on this case and their new findings, what's your hope through all of that?
Yeah, of course, I think number one is we would like the case to be solved. We'd like to find out who did this. Also, to find my sisters. I mean, the younger one was only 4 years old. I mean, of course, we're concerned that what's happened to them, because why haven't they reached out? I went on Ancestry years ago when Ancestry allowed this type of information, and another brother, we went on it right away in hopes that we could find them. It was the only way we could, try to find them. So that's my hopes, is maybe this gets out, maybe they'll hear, and maybe we can locate them.
It sounds like you've done some work on Ancestry.com or some of those
she was murdered.
Platforms, and obviously that might have played a role in this. I guess, what's been your end of that and your experience with Ancestry.com or something like that?
Well, I think it's more Detective Wally, I'll call him Wally, I have a hard time pronouncing his name. He's the one that did all of this. He's the one that contacted us. I just want to thank him so much. He's been great. We had to do some special things with the DNA, sending it to that lab, my DNA, to confirm, because there's only limited information. He did that right away, kind of walked us through this and given us this opportunity. And thank you all too, to try to get the word out to see if we might be able to find our sisters or what happened to them and maybe solve this case. Along with this other family, I send my condolences to them too. I know how it feels.
That's not me, but this they're using the free version of Zoom. That's kind of what you get.
So,
all right.
That's our.
Look how the lady that's running this is just kind of rude. Like, all right, hey, see ya.
Len, thank you for joining us. Sorry, it looks like we're about to run out of time on this Zoom call.
Okay, bye.
We apologize for that. We're trying to see if we can. Okay. I don't know if you want to, I know this was hard for you. Can you repeat the last thing you said, because we missed it because of the technology?
Sure. I just hope that, thank you all for getting this information out. I give my condolences to this sweet family that's on this, that's feeling the same feelings I'm having with.
Well, there's a free version of it, but it's, people like me have to pay. We pay a lot of money every year for it.
A loved one that was killed and gone too soon, but if you hear anything, please share my information and I just thank you. We can just get the word out, try to locate my sisters. It would be a blessing to my family. An end to this.
Okay, so the sisters are still missing.
Ordeal.
Maybe they can remember
One thing I'll
it.
touch on, she's agreed to do any other.
Sounds like one of them was still alive, though.
Our
Right?
interviews afterwards. So if you want to reach out. We'll give you the Zoom information, and if you want to be able to do a one-on-one or something later on, we can try to get that information to you.
Thank you, Ms. Gates. We thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. So now we have Ms. Clarkson.
Yeah, they just go straight over to somebody else. They shut it off, and then some other lady's talking about it. It's just, when you do these press conferences, do one for each case. Okay, don't sort of lump in three together. It's stupid. Just take the time to have one, just different days. It doesn't take a lot of effort. You just get the camera on, you show up, just do it. Anyways, pretty cool right there. Thank you, Annabelle Stealth. And now we're going to, maybe I'll try to get, people are saying get a hold of that lady. That would be kind of cool to talk to her. If you go watch the real thing, the actual, well, here, I'll show it to you. Watch. Here. I fixed it, so the audio sucks. And
But this at 5 for over 5 decades.
That's her right there, by the way. This lady right there, and this one.
Yeah.
And he knew he had been put up for
He only
adoption.
comes out
It
of
was
one
in
side.
between having older children.
One-on-one or something later on.
Take a look at watch.
All right. So now we have Ms. Clarkson.
No follow up or anything at the end.
Clarkson, this is Richard's mother and his aunt. If you want to introduce.
Okay, but who are you talking about? What are you guys talking about? Anyways, it was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. If you have some huge find like that, you finally solve an old case. That's what the press conference is about. There was one before that too. It was crazy. All right. So we're going to be reading now, you guys, and you know what that means. It means where is that one? Now it's the Pac-Man, this sound right here. Yeah, so this next one's going to be pretty It might be pretty long. There's actually one 1987 article that's something like 5 pages in a newspaper. I mean, it like literally just goes on and on and on. But so I got rid of some of the earlier ones. Yeah. But you know what's crazy, you guys? On the day show when we're doing Arius, the goal gets met easily. It seems like now on the night shows it's way harder for some reason. Not sure what the deal is there, but it's like an energy drain. So we've got the stream goal up there. You've got the Annabelle Stealth is now the Super Freak. All right. So let's see. Let's get the. This is a weird case because I've never heard of it before, and it should be one of those ones. I think there might be a podcast on it out there. But it's not one of the popular ones that you hear about, but it's pretty crazy. All right, so it says 3 girls at lake are missing. The 3 girls are Patricia Blough, Ann Miller, and Renee Bruhl, Bruhl. Now we get like only 100 people watching during the day, maybe 85, and easily do it. It's wild. Police along the shore of Lake Michigan are looking for 3 Illinois girls who were last seen Saturday boarding a boat with 3 unidentified men. So that's what's kind of weird. This is in Indiana, but it's right on Lake Michigan there. Let's see, where is that? That's not the one. Yeah, right here. I'm not even sure if I knew that Indiana was on Lake Michigan. But, yeah, right at here at this park apparently these parking lots is where their car was found. You know what's funny? The first thing I thought of was, wow, remember that case we just did in North Fox Island? But this is before that. So I don't know if it's related in any way, but pretty weird. Yeah, police along the shore of Lake Michigan are looking for 3 Illinois girls who were last seen Saturday boarding a boat with 3 unidentified men. The girls are identified as Renee Bruhl, 19, Patricia Blough, 19, and Ann Miller, 21, all of Westchester, Illinois. Authorities say they found the girls' personal effects on the beach and one of the girls' cars in the parking lot of the Indiana Dunes State Park near here. An air search is being contemplated. Drowning is considered a possibility. Yeah, I don't know about that. And then this is the next day, July. This is July 1966. They went missing on July 2nd. Authorities widened the land, sea, and air search today for 3 young women missing since they boarded a motorboat at the Indiana Dunes State Park. A boat found last night at Ludington, Michigan, proved to have no connection with the disappearance of the Chicago area women. Earlier, it has been believed the craft was the one which the women were boarding off the beach. The boat belonged to a man in the Ludington area and was there all weekend, a Coast Guard spokesman said. Police said about 100 persons have also completed a ground search of the dunes area without finding a trace of the woman. Hold on, let me get my Linus music playing. Linus blanket music. Let's see, police, Coast Guard planes and vessels and planes from the Indiana wing of the Civil Air Patrol searched the entire southern part of the Lake Michigan, as far as Ludington, 250 miles north of the Dunes Park. The missing women are Renee Bruhl, 19, Chicago wife of a college student, Miss Ann Miller, 21, York Center, Illinois, who was employed until recently exercising horses at the Oak Brook Polo Club, and Miss Patricia Blough, 19, Westchester, Illinois, a secretary at the Commonwealth Edison Company. Yes, this is the one that was with the horses. Okay, so that was it for that. And another one on the 6th here. Kind of can see that her face is better in this one. Well, they're all from different places. That first article was wrong. One was from Chicago, one was from Westchester, and the other one was from Lombard. Yeah, so there's Westchester over here. Thanks, Traveling Teresa. You know, it sucks though to have a reading, like the reading fee thing. It just means that people just be boring or something. I don't know.
Reading fee wave, ocean wave, ocean wave, ocean wave, ocean wave.
Thank you, Traveling Teresa. I wonder how they all knew each other in Chicago. Now I'm going to make these all different color for this one so it's easier to see. And then Lombard. Okay. So this is the general area of all three women right here. So here's where they were partying, or whatever, hanging out on the beach, and this is where they're from here. The distance from here to there is 43 miles. So, I mean, that could be a pretty long drive if you're, you know, have to go through the city at any point, but it is on a freeway, you know, yeah, and back then there probably wasn't as much overall traffic as there is today, but maybe there were smaller roads, so who the hell knows? Alright, let's see. Authorities remained without clues today. The missing women were 19-year-old Renee Bruhl, the wife of a young college student, Miss Ann Miller, 21, York Center, Illinois, who was employed under recently exercising horses. Yep. Let's see. The possibility of foul play must be considered in view of the circumstances of their disappearance, State Police Sergeant Edward Burke said. Where is that? Right there. Okay, more than half of the 2,200-acre park, a popular spot for Chicagoans and residents of northern Indiana, was covered by the search party before darkness fell Tuesday night. Among the searchers was Harold Blough, the father of one of the missing women, and commander of Group 23 of the Illinois Civil Air Patrol. Relatives of the other women were also at the park. When last seen, the women were clad only in their swimming suits. Saturday night, park personnel discovered on the beach a blanket containing the girls' car keys, sunglasses, towels, and purses. So, like, they were all on the beach, had all their stuff sitting there because their car is parked in the parking lot, so they just brought the stuff that they wanted with them, which contained about $60. A tag on the car led to Miss Miller's automobile, which was parked in the parking lot. The women had left their homes early Saturday morning and said they expected to be back by about 5 p.m. There were no reports of 3 young men being missing. And let's see. Oh, we got the wackos in here again. Yeah. Well, you guys, Troll Fund. You remember that? When the trolls show up, that's when the Troll Fund comes in. Foul play theory, Wade and hunt for missing girl. Now, the disappearance of 3 Illinois women from the Indiana Dune State Park beach here Saturday has state police guessing whether they were victims of foul play or a boat accident. The discovery of 2 boat seats, pieces, plywood, and an oil can in Lake Michigan 3 miles west of the park near Baileytown late yesterday made investigators reconsider after they said earlier that the 3 may be victims of foul play. The 3 are Mrs. Renee Bruhl, 19 years old, Chicago, Miss Patricia Blough, 19. I mean, but you're not going to find one body floating around in the lake after that amount of time? I don't know. Runaway theory pursued. Now they're wondering if she ran away. The organized search of the lake. Miss Renee Bruhl, 19. A letter in purse. Indiana State Police said a letter was found in Mrs. Bruhl's purse indicating she was not happy with her marriage. Miss Miller had moved out of her parents' home in Lombard about 2 weeks ago, authorities said. Miss Blough's boyfriend went to California recently, and authorities said that she almost went with him at that time. Recently, let's see, Miss Blough's boyfriend went to California recently, and authorities said that she almost went with him at the time. Scuba divers completed their underwater search Friday night. A mounted posse already had completed combing the 2,180 acre park. Thanks, Lady Lactuca.
Don't hate us. Join us.
Well, their goal is always just to disrupt the show. I mean, we saw that in the writings. I actually have screenshots of what they type in, and their whole goal is just to disrupt the show, and, you know, I try not to let it, you know. Thank you, Valerie H. It said state police said there was only a remote possibility of a drowning accident.
How much earlier than the island story, and how far by boat to the island? THX.
Oh, it's about 10 years before. Indiana State Police Detective Sergeant Edward Burke in Dune State Park. Superintendent William Svedick took exception Friday to a statement by the father of one of the missing women that coordinators of the search have been lax in bringing the FBI into the case. So, you know, there's this one article. I mean, it might take me the whole damn rest of the show to read the longer one. Let me just see what these headlines say in the rest of these. Now, this part was pretty cool. I thought, this one. So they actually, somebody was almost had like surveillance cameras. You know, he was just doing home film, but man, how amazing is that back then? You know, the 8mm Super 8 shit. Yeah, I mean, it's right up here. There's the North Fox Island. The miles wise, I'm sure it's got to be 100. No, 281 miles. I'm just saying it. I just happened to notice it was in there. I don't think it's related because they didn't even own the island yet. But it could be some other earlier version of something. I mean, we don't really know that. But look how crazy this is, though, right? Home movie films may give clues to disappearance. Several feet of home movie film may give Indiana State Police their freshest clue in the disappearance of 3 Chicago area women. Detective Sergeant Edward Burke, in charge of the investigation, has said a man who took movies at the park the day of the girls' vanish has agreed to let police study the film. The man reported he scanned the beach and water several times with his camera. Mrs. Renee Bruhl, 19, Mrs. Patricia Blough, 10, and Miss Ann Miller, 21, have run away, Burke said. The evidence of voluntary... What the... Hey! Thank you, freak! And suck it, troll.
_basic generous.
That... Wow, that's so kind of you. We made it into the stream goal just like that. And thanks everybody else too. Made it there. If you want to help support the channel, we got a whole bunch to go over on this one. The 1986 article, or 87. There's a book that somebody wrote on this, but they put parts of it in the paper, so I don't know how long that's going to take. Oh, okay. Oh, well, thanks, Lady Lactuca. That's cool. I appreciate it. Let's see. Authorities believe the women may have boarded a cabin cruiser with 3 men aboard. Witnesses reported seeing the 3 young women.
Chewbacca?
I'll be Chewbacca,
I'll
want
be
to be.
Chewbacca if you want me to.
I meant for that to be $10, but add a bit extra for fees. Lol.
Oh, thank you. 3 young women riding in a motorboat with a man earlier in the day, July 2nd. Burke said the girls may have arranged with the man in the motorboat for the cabin cruiser to pick them up. I guess. I mean, why would they leave all their shit? I don't buy that stuff. Because you're not going to leave your blankets and all your wallets and your purses and stuff just randomly on a beach and then get into a boat with somebody who's going to then take you to a bigger boat, and you're just not going to bring your shit with you. They would all 3 have to have decided they're all going to take off at the same time. They're all going to be gone girls. Does anybody think that's real? Police discount drowning in case of 3 women. So they do think that there's really no way that they drowned. And I think it's true, because if they drowned, their bodies probably would have floated to the surface and made it to the beach somewhere. Especially during the summer when the water's lower. It's not quite it's not quite as turbulent, really. The boat police believe the women entered is about 17 feet long with an 88-inch beam. How do you know that stuff? So this must be from the film. The 3 missing women are Miss Renee Bruhl, 19, yeah. Westchester and Miss Ann Miller, 21. Boat described. The boat police believe the women entered is about 17 feet long, although there is a witness that's talked to one of the girls, I guess, beforehand, with an 88-inch beam It has a white hull and turquoise deck and is believed to be powered by a 120 horsepower engine. Detective Miller said it is a Johnson Seaport or Deluxe model or an Evinrude model, which is almost identical. Early reports in the case had the girls entering a 17-foot boat containing 1 to 3 men. No boats or young men have been reported missing. The girls were wearing bathing suits at the time they disappeared. A car belonging to one of them and personal effects of all 3 were found in the park. Air and surface searches of the lake and shoreline were conducted by police. I mean, this is already a really weird case, right? I mean, just... I got this one off of the Charlie Project. Anytime you find a case on the Charlie Project that has a long write-up, that means it's going to be in the newspaper. Three missing girls alive, police believe. So they think they're alive. Let's see. Oh, yeah, let's look at this crap right here. The, 3 girls missing since July 2nd when they... Hold on, I gotta... There we go. 3 girls missing since July 2nd when they disappeared from a beach at the Indiana Dunes are believed alive, and police are operating under the theory that they have planned their disappearance. The paper said Olaf Johnson, a Chicagoan known as the man of the X-ray mind and a specialist in the extrasensory perception, said on July 23rd he is sure the 3 girls were in Saugatuck, Michigan. And let me see what he said. Doing it, little buddy. Skip by. Yeah, wow. Did you hear that? I heard it too. I heard what is it called? Saugatuck. I heard it in there for sure. There's no way I missed that. Yeah, so he thinks that they went to Saugatuck, Michigan and had bleached their hair and changed their hairstyles. On July 29th, Indiana State Police went to Saugatuck and questioned waitresses. Really? So you guys were that stupid that you listened to a psychic and went to Saugatuck and talked with waitresses and stable owners. 2 of the girls owned horses. On July 30th, the three, Mrs. Renee Bruhl, 19, Patricia Blough, 19, and Ann Miller, 21, were cited by a waitress in a... Okay, now they're saying... were cited by a waitress in Saugatuck nightclub. When she left to call police, she said the 3 and their companion, a man, disappeared. Yeah, that means you're full of shit, okay? She said the 3 girls had short blonde hair. Wow. Whoa. Oh, God. An Indianapolis couple told police of seeing the 3 girls getting into a boat with a lone man on July 2nd. This sounds more realistic. At the dunes, a popular bathing area 40 miles from here. The couple's positive identification and detailed description of the boat set police on the trail of this mystery man who is believed to be a major clue in the case, the newspaper said. The boyfriend of one of the girls, an assistant trainer at Arlington Park, told police the girl told him the night before the disappearance she wanted to get out of the area for a while, the paper said. The boyfriend of one of the girls, an assistant trainer at Arlington Park, told police the girl told him the night before the disappearance she wanted to get out of the area for a while. I don't know. They all 3... So one of the girls was thinking of leaving her husband. Another one wanted to get out of the area for a while. And so they all went there, parked their car, went to the beach, and took the time to set up blankets on the ground, left all their purses and belongings there, and just took off to start a whole new life. That doesn't sound like something people would have done back then. All right, guys, now we're on to this insanely long, it just goes on and on and on. So this is in the Chicago Tribune, 1987, June 21st, written by Edward Bauman and John O'Brien. So this article is 1330, basically 36 years ago. You ready? Yeah, women don't leave their purses sitting around. I'm sure my nose will start getting... Here, hold on a second. All right, here we go. The brisk wind off the lake whipped, let's see, is this what really happened to 3 young women at the dunes? 2 decades later, no one knows, but they have a lot more details. The brisk wind off the lake whipped sand around the ankles of Indiana State Police Sergeant Michael Carman and Trooper Lou Weber, followed by 2 rookie patrolmen with shovels over their shoulders, huffed up the rickety wooden stairs leading from the beach at Indiana Dunes State Park. There, the old cabin, Weber pointed out when they reached the top of the bluff overlooking the southern end of Lake Michigan, seeing in the yard the dark-colored sand and the lawn chair with the bottom busted out, just like she said. "Okay, guys, this is where we dig," Carmen said. When they said, just like she said, guess what? That's a psychic. "This is crazy. Let's get at it." Throughout that day and the next, and still another, they sweated, puffed, groaned, and cursed as they kicked their shovel into the sandy soil and overturned every inch of the yard around the isolated cabin. They could find no indication that anyone had dug there before them. At the end of the 3rd day, Carmen said dejectedly, "Well, that's it. Nothing." Exhausted, the Indiana lawmen trooped back to their squad cars, tossed the shovels into the trunks, and drove off. The unusual incident on a shirt-sleeved sunny autumn day a dozen years ago in the state park some 60 miles southeast of Chicago was yet another disappointment in the will-o-wisp search for 3 young Illinois women who 21 years ago this summer went for a beach blanket outing and vanished without a trace. What's going on? Where are all the hearts for? What happened? What happened, you guys? Let's see. What happened, you guys? What's going on with all the hearts? Did something happen up here? Did I miss it? Huh? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Where are all the hearts from? So Lanky Tor enters and, man, look at the hearts. When I show up, it's boo, hiss, you know. My God. So Lanky Tor came in and got 47,000 hearts as if she just recovered from a surgery. Wow. I mean, I like to see her too, but Lanky Tor is one of the nicest people out there. If you go in the comment section after each of my videos, she always types in nice things. A little bit like Billy Juliana, although I haven't seen her comments anymore. She used to always write something nice in there. There's Lanky Tor. Yeah. Oh, you gave me one too? Thanks, Bama Forever. Man. I was like, what the hell? I turn around and there's like 17,000 hearts. I think it's cool that you guys all like each other like that. I just wish you guys liked me the same amount.
Are you upset, Gray?
Well, not really.
Hey, that's what I always do, that little fake cry.
Yes, you do, Mary Lou. I thought I pulled it off pretty good right there. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. The four lawmen had gone to the park after Indiana State Police received a letter. Listen to this, everybody. From a spiritualist in Montana. So these guys went out to that park and dug for 3 days at an old cabin because some wacko spiritualist in Montana, nevertheless, who described the cabin site right down to the broken lawn chair. Right, they probably were just there a week before. You probably missed that part.
1.21
Yeah.
Lanky Tor.
1.21 Lanky Tor. I don't know what that means. I have no idea. Does anybody know what that means? 1.21 Lanky Tor. That looks familiar, like we've talked about that before or something. Anyways, a spiritualist in Montana who described the cabin site right down to the broken lawn chair and suggested that the young women's bodies will be found there. It was a vision that did not materialize any more than any other lead police have laboriously checked out over the years since the mysterious disappearance of Renee Bruhl, Patricia Blough, and Ann Miller. Do they have to be dead, muses Carmen, now a lieutenant, during a recent review of the case? What I'm saying is that people disappear all the time. Most are eventually accounted for, but not all of them. Some are never found. I think it's incredibly rare to have 3 people that are just friends, they're not relatives, and that they all disappear on the same day intentionally forever. Like not one of them tried to contact another person. You know, maybe they were recruited by the CIA and told to leave their identification there and would become a different person. Hey, there you go, everybody. That actually makes more sense than the ghost theory. Her first stop, I mean, the most logical one would be the boat sank and they drowned, but then why didn't any of their bodies float to the shore somewhere? Her first stop was in suburban Westchester, where she picked up... Okay, let's do this again. Three Illinois women who were never found were last seen on Saturday, July 2nd, 1966, the start of the long 4th of July weekend. Early that morning, 21-year-old Ann Miller backed her 1955 four-door Buick out of the driveway on... we can get these. Rockdale Circle. All right, so... let's see, Rockdale Circle. Is that how you spell it? Is that it right there? No. Wish I remembered what town she lived in. 21 Ann Miller backed her 1950 Buick out of driveway on Rockdale Circle in West Suburban. Okay. Rockdale Circle, Lombard, Illinois. There we go. Right there. Okay. So now we have a really close, a circle means it's, so it's just right in here. So this is where Ann Miller is. Okay. And drove away from her family home in West Suburban Lombard to keep her appointment with an unknown fate. Her first stop was in suburban Westchester, where she picked up Patricia Blough, 19, at her home on Drury Lane. So now we go to Westchester here. And this is Drury Lane. And there it is, Westchester, Illinois. I wonder how close it is to here. Pretty close. Okay, so this is Drury Lane. Just this little section right here. So we'll just put it right in the middle. Drury Lane. And this is Patricia Blough. Okay, we got that. Then, at her home on Drury Lane, as she was leaving the house, Blough called over her shoulder to her mother, "We'll be home early, Mom," because Renee has to make dinner for her husband. From there, the two drove to Chicago's west side, where 19-year-old Renee Bruhl was waiting for them at her home in the 5800 block of West Fulton Street. So, 5800 West Fulton Street. There it is, Chicago. So they're a little closer than... So she's right on the outskirts here. And this is Fulton. So 5900 is... So it's going to be right in the middle here. Just somewhere in here. And this is where Renee Bruhl. (5800) West Fulton Street. Alright, now we've got sort of the geographical location of those three. They're closer in a line like that. So, yeah, they're much more... Let's see what the radius is from the middle person. Yeah, it's just like a 7-mile radius from the middle there. And then this is the park where they went over here. Alright, now we should be able to keep moving on. It was barely 8 a.m. and already the day promised to be a scorcher. As the three women headed for the dunes, on the way they stopped at a drugstore and picked up a bottle of suntan lotion for $1.53. By the time they arrived at the popular park at 10 a.m., so this must be, they got a hold of the investigative files on this. By the time they arrived at the popular park at 10 a.m., so they got here at 10 a.m., okay, that's what it looks like right there. It was already 88 degrees by 10 a.m. With light winds coming in off the lake, the thermometer would hit 90 by 11 a.m. and sweltering 92 by noon. Miller, Blough, and Bruhl, the only married one of the three, were among 8,600 people in the 2,178 people in the 2,178 automobiles who crowded into the park that sultry Saturday. Wow. Miller parked her 11-year-old clunker in the sprawling lot, and they hiked the 3/4 of a mile to the beach from the park pavilion. Let's see if that might mean, because there's another parking lot over here. When they say 3/4 of a mile, let's see. Does this make that happen? That's only 0.3. Oh, maybe. No, it's like campers there. I don't know. Maybe the beach they went to was that far. I don't know. But from here, it's just, you just walk right down to the beach. What do they say here? Indiana Dunes State Park. That's the same place. Just kind of looking at that. I think that's the ocean out there. Anyways. Let's see. The young women staked out a good spot under 3 poplar trees and spread their blanket on the side of a dune. Then they peeled down to their swimsuits. Anne, a 5'2" brunette with blue eyes and wearing a blue 2-piece bathing suit with a red belt. Patty, 5 feet 4 inches with brown hair and brown eyes, wore a bright yellow bikini with ruffles, and Renee, the tallest of the three at 5'9", with brown hair and hazel eyes, had on a brown swimsuit with a pattern of green flowers and gold leaves. The spot they selected was about 100 yards from the shore, and as the beach became more crowded, the 3 sunbathers were hardly noticed. Towards nightfall, a young Chicago couple, Mike Yankalasa and Francis Cisnero, flagged down a park ranger, Bud Connor, and pointed out the abandoned blanket on the sand. So somebody literally, like in the evening, saw the abandoned blanket and probably noticed that there was like purses and stuff on it and thought that was weird. They left all their belongings on the blanket around noon and never came back, the couple explained. Yeah, so they saw them there, and then later saw all their stuff on there, but they never made it back. So they found, the couple noticed them sitting there, then later walked by and saw all their belongings on there and had never come back, and that concerned them enough. They were out in the water talking to some guy in a boat. Then they got aboard and took off, headed west. So somehow they got onto somebody's boat here. I'm not really sure how you would do that, but they just pull, I guess you just something like that, you know. And then they headed west. So from the beach, they were going this direction towards Chicago, really. So that's not good. I mean, who the hell knows what they were doing? I mean, it's just absolutely bizarre. The spot they selected was, okay. Yeah, let me get down here again. What kind of boat was it? Asked the ranger. It was a white with a blue inside, and it had an outboard motor. It wasn't real big, maybe 14 to 16 feet long. Okay, thanks kids, I'll take it from here. Boats bearing suntan shiny teeth young men regularly pulled up on the beach, their crews trying to persuade girls to come aboard. The ranger figured the trio had left their belongings on the blanket and had gone off on such a lark. See that? I mean, I can totally see that. They got on the boat, thinking that it was, oh, we're just going to ride around for a bit and come back and we'll get our stuff on our blankets. But most people wouldn't just leave all of that stuff behind. I mean, most people would take something on the boat. I mean, you don't want it to be, if it gets stolen, you lost your ID and everything. The ranger figured the trio had left their belongings on the blanket and had gone on such a lark, which might have turned into a moonlight cruise. Blough trustingly left behind a yellow robe, a pair of sunglasses, a transistor radio, a white print towel, and her wallet containing $5. Miller left a thermos bottle on the blanket, along with her denim shorts, shoes, a polo shirt, white bathing cap, and a comb. Bruhl left a large towel with shorts, blouse, cigarettes, suntan lotion, 25 cents, and her pocketbook containing about $55 in checks. Connor picked up the blanket by its corners and took everything to the office of Park Superintendent William Feddick for safekeeping. They'll come looking for this stuff and be glad nobody ran off with it. Thanks, Bud. The blanket and belongings were set aside and all but forgotten as the busy park staff coped with the teeming holiday weekend crowd. First thing, Monday, however, Svedek got a telephone call from Patty's worried father, Harold Blough. He was seeking information about the three young women. They left home about 8 o'clock Saturday and should have gotten to the park at about 10, Blough said, but they never came home. Ding, 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 ding. No, the article's from 1987. The case happened in 66, like I said. You know what I'm saying? Where did Lauren go? She must have went to sleep. She's pretty funny during the Arius stuff. Now we're going to be on day 44 on that case. That's pretty crazy. We've done the whole thing. Welcome, Ellen Vaughn. The blanket and belongings were set aside and all but forgotten as the busy park staff coped with the teeming holiday weekend crowd. First thing on Monday, so the father, Blough, came in. He just said they never came home. Suspecting there might be a connection, Svedek surveyed the items left behind on the blanket. They included a key ring with a miniature Illinois license plate number 265487. Svedek had his men check the parking lot. Sure enough, there was a 1955 Buick with plates matching the key ring. The park superintendent glanced at his watch, and now we're moving. Oh. Yeah. So now this is much longer over here. And it was 8:50 a.m. as he put a call to Indiana State Police, who then quartered 3 miles south of the park on Indiana Highway 49. At 10 a.m. on July 4th, Trooper Harry Young took possession of the personal effects, including the key ring found on the blanket. He contacted Chicago police and asked them to run a check on the license number of the car. At 10:20 a.m., Chicago notified the trooper that the plates were registered to Ann Miller of suburban Westchester. A check with Westchester police showed that a missing person report had been filed on her and her 2 friends by family members the night before. A routine day in the sun for 3 young women had suddenly become a serious matter for police. First Sergeant Edward Burke, 39-year-old State police detective regarded as one of the best in the department headed for the park to try to piece together what had happened. Burke interviewed park employees, inventoried the items left behind on the blanket, and checked out the women's car. Inside were several items of clothing and shoes belonging to Bruhl and Blough. At 3:50 p.m., after satisfying himself that the three women were nowhere in vicinity, Burke alerted the U.S. Coast Guard and requested a search of the southern end of Lake Michigan. The Coast Guard estimated that 5,000 to 6,000 boats had been in the lake between Chicago and Indiana Dunes State Park. Just think of all the people you could just blend right in, taking somebody. The task of singling out the craft on which they might have gone for a ride would have been impossible. With 2 days already gone before authorities were called into the case, Burke, a 16-year-old police veteran, knew that each additional day would make the mystery tougher to solve. Witnesses would become vague, the wind and weather would obliterate possible clues in the ever-shifting sand dunes. First thing Tuesday, July 5th, Burke ordered a minute search of the 2,180-acre park. See, earlier it said 2,100 and something cars. That didn't make any sense. And the shoreline to the east, extending all the way to Michigan City near the Indiana-Michigan border. Coordinating the search were Svedek and First Sergeant Albert Hartman of the Indiana State Police. Search parties including 42 soldier volunteers from a nearby missile base and 10 members of the Porter County Sheriff's posse on horseback, plodded over the sprawling dunes, through thick woods and across quiet meadows containing some of the finest flora in the Midwest. In examining the contents of Bruhl's purse, meanwhile, detectives discovered something that could indicate the disappearance might have been planned. The abandoned pocketbook contained an unmailed letter to her husband of 15 months, Jeffrey, a 21-year-old accounting student. The letter, written 2 weeks earlier, suggested that Renee wanted to leave Jeffrey, contending he spent too much time with his friends working on hot rod cars. But it could have just been a letter where, trying to get him to change or something. For reasons known only to herself, she never delivered the message. But if it was indeed a planned disappearance, would Renee have left the letter behind to give the plot away? Police questioned the young husband, who insisted there had been no marital problems that he was aware of. Members of the young woman's family also discounted the importance of the missive, saying Renee might have been upset when she wrote it and then thought better of passing it on to Jeff. She might even have gotten that she still carried it. She may have even forgotten it, that she still carried it. As darkness enshrouded the park, Burke ordered a beach buggy to patrol the shoreline throughout the night. The reason was grimly obvious. If the three women had drowned the previous Saturday, it would be time for their bodies to surface, see, I was saying that earlier, and float to the shore. Although the night, however, the beach buggy patrol saw nothing other than its own tire tracks. On Wednesday, July 6th, the search was concentrated in a 6-mile stretch of beach west of the park extending to Ogden Dunes. Where's that? That means it's this direction. Okay. So they checked all the way over to here. Ogden Dunes. An area of woods and expensive homes. This was a result of a telephone calls from two men from South Holland, Illinois, and from an Indianapolis couple. They had been at the park Saturday and seen three young women enter a boat containing one man and head west. The man was described as well-tanned, in his early 20s, with dark wavy hair. He was wearing a beach jacket. The witness recalled that one of the women was wearing a yellow swimsuit and positively identified photographs of the woman as the person they had seen board the craft. More than 100 volunteer searchers were now involved in the operation along with the sheriff's mounted posse. The search took a new turn later that day when debris from a wrecked boat washed up along the shoreline 3 miles west of where the women were last seen. Searchers found pieces of metal and styrofoam believed to have been parts of 3 boat seats, along with oil and gasoline cans and a piece of oil-soaked wood. And like I always say, everybody, let's see. The discovery was made near the Bailey Generating Station of Northern Indiana Public Service Company. There was a water intake crib about a quarter of a mile out of the lake, and police theorized a boat might have smashed into the crib and broken up. Curiously, however, police and the Coast Guard couldn't find no record of any boat having been reported missing. A Civil Air Patrol plane flew over the area in search of additional debris but found nothing. As of this time, we have no evidence of a connection between the debris and the missing women. Burke told reporters congregating at the scene the sea hunt was resumed on Thursday. Civil Air Patrol planes from Cook County and Gary crisscrossed the lower end of the lake as far north as a line extending from downtown Chicago to New Buffalo, Michigan. At the same time, Coast Guard cruisers were checked every boat along the Lake Michigan shore in Illinois, Indiana, and southern Michigan. The search would continue uninterrupted for a week. The Coast Guard dispatched 10 cutters, 1 airplane, and 1 helicopter to aid in the hunt. The Civil Air Patrol had a minimum of 4 planes aloft throughout the search. 2 Army helicopters also joined the air operation. Far below, dozens of scuba divers working from an Army amphibian duck explored the lake bottom from a point near where the woman's blanket was found, or were found, to far west as Steel Mill at Burns Ditch. So they scuba dived the whole bottom too. Park Superintendent Svedek invited anyone with bloodhounds. Yeah, that might have been it. Hold on. The next page. No, that's not it. To bring their dogs to the park to help in search, and urge owners of private cabins along the lakeshore to check their properties for any sign of missing sunbathers. Members of the sheriff's posse checked out some 250 cabins in the area, talking to anyone they could find at home and peering through windows of unoccupied dwellings. Svedek made a public appeal for anyone who might have seen the 3 women enter a boat to contact him at park headquarters. In all, he received more than 100 calls. Most of the reports were quickly discounted, while others were checked out for, but led nowhere. Typical of those was a call from a drugstore owner who insisted he saw Blough in his place of business several days after the disappearance. She was in here and bought a couple of those love story magazines, 3 birthday cards, a pair of earrings, and 3 pair of stockings, he told investigators. The near certainty that the woman had gone into the water, either for a swim or a boat ride, was emphasized by the shoes they left behind. So far, we have found nothing to indicate foul play, Sergeant Burke said on the 4th day of the search. No, it has to be foul play, though. because anybody that would have an expensive boat, if they went missing, people would have known that they went missing. The three girls left their shoes and everything on the blanket and went into the lake. So there's been no reported of a boat that disappeared or anything like that. They left their shoes, their wallets, their purse, everything like that. They basically disappeared with just their swimsuits on. And for me, that just means foul play immediately, because anybody that has a boat that's driving around on a lake like that knows other people, usually, right? And somebody's going to report that missing if there was a wreck of some sort. Yeah. Police determined that both Blough and Bruhl were strong swimmers, while Miller was described as a fair swimmer, making it unlikely the three might have drowned. Patty Blough was capable of swimming 20 to 30 miles. Wow. Burke said he'd been told. The families of the three women, I know, 20 to 30 miles, that's ridiculous. Okay. It's hard to swim 2 or 3 miles. The families of the three women could think of no one they knew who owned a boat, and stressed that the women's interests did not lie in a nautical direction. On the contrary, all three were horseback riding enthusiasts. Blough owned her own horse, a thoroughbred named Hank, which at the moment was at a track near Winnipeg, Canada, where the animal had won a race 2 weeks earlier. Probing into the backgrounds of the three women, detectives initially could find little that might help in the investigation. Blough, who weighed 115 pounds, wore her dark hair in a short, soft style. She had deep brown eyes and a dark suntan. She had attended Proviso High School in Hillsdale for 2 years, graduating from Proviso West in Maywood. She had worked 6 months as a secretary at Sears, Roebuck and Company before taking a similar job with Commonwealth Edison. It was while growing up in Wisconsin, where she spent her summer at her parents' lake cottage, that she had developed into an expert swimmer, but horses were her real love. Before acquiring Hank, she owned a saddle horse, which she boarded in the same stable where Miller kept her horse. That was how they became acquainted. Miller had been employed exercising horses at the Oak Brook Polo Club. Bruhl had been a high school classmate of Blough's. After graduation from Proviso West in Maryland, she completed a 1-year course at a medical technology school in Loop. As the land-sea search continued Thursday, police received more calls in response to a plea by the parents of the missing women. Various callers who had seen their photographs in area newspapers reported having seen them in Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Some of the callers who had been at the beach the day of the disappearance said they had seen the three get into a boat with 3 men. Other callers remembered it as 2 men, and another said there was only 1 man. Burke investigators checked out every lead. Burke's investigators. For a time, it appeared that the best lead was a lifeguard who told investigators he had seen the women get into a boat with 3 men aboard. The next day, however, he told police he did not think they were the same girls. In the end, police considered the best lead to be the original one. I agree with that. They're the same ones that saw the blanket and knew exactly who they were looking at. Lead to be the original one from the teenage boy and girl who told Connors about seeing the women get into a small boat containing 1 man. This story was backed up by the South Holland and Indianapolis Witness. Later Thursday, Coast Guard guardsmen located 3 Michigan City men who said they had attempted unsuccessfully to pick up 3 women at the beach with their boat on Saturday. They said the young woman standing in chin-deep water turned down the offer. "I'm married, I can't go," one of the women explained. The report refueled speculation that the 3 might have drowned after all. 6 scuba divers were sent into the chilly lake to probe the sandy bottom. They searched Thursday evening and throughout the night in the A monotonous drone of electric generator-powered floodlights that reflected eerily off the lake. The underwater probe continued all day Friday, but the divers came up with nothing. At this point, I am 90% sure they were victims of accidental drowning. But Burke was not sure. In view of the fact that all were known to be good swimmers, I would have to consider this possibly remote. Yeah, I agree with that. That left just two possibilities. A woman staged a mysterious disappearance and deliberately ran away. I think that's almost completely ridiculous. Because all three of them, you don't think one of them may have later changed their mind and got a hold of somebody, a friend? They had met with foul play. That's the answer. Burke's investigators learned that all three had problems in their personal lives, but none was considered traumatic enough to run away from. Furthermore, the fact that they had left behind their purses, shoes, and personal items elevated fears that they had indeed been victims of an occurrence not of their own choosing. See, that's what I'm saying. So we think, I mean, I don't know what it is, but see, on this channel, when we're putting stuff together, a lot of people go, oh, it's so obvious. Well, when we put it together and you start looking at things, you realize that when you use facts and logic and reason, you think a lot like these guys do. Now, if you're not one of those types and you're one of the wild speculator type YouTube channels, they bring up all this other crazy shit where nobody, it doesn't match anything that you see somebody type in, but it's more entertaining, okay? And so that's one of the things is I'm not going to make it, you know, like if it's entertaining, it's entertaining, but I'm not going to make something up to make it look entertaining, you know? So when we go over it, you can just see these guys are thinking through it exactly the same way that you know, I have been in here, and you guys are typing in similar things in the chat. You know, it's just the way it is, right? And that's why I just think we do it in a better way. Now you might say that, you know, I'm sitting here reading this stuff, and I mean, it's all here. This right here, what we're reading. I guarantee it, the writers of this got this from the investigative material. They probably did a FOIA request, and they're putting it all in here. They know exactly what happened, and, you know, using newspaper articles and things like that. By the end of the first week, both Burke and Svedek were satisfied that Bruhl, Blough, and Miller were nowhere in the park, alive or dead. The official search was called to a halt. Now came the tedious nuts and bolts of police work, questioning friends, relatives, and anyone who might have known them. Every visitor who came to the park the weekend after the disappearance was made aware of the search. Patty, 59, told a 59-year-old father, Harold Blough, refused to give up. A lieutenant colonel of the Illinois Civil Air Patrol, he carried on a personal air search for the missing girls. Along with A.W. Hart of West Suburban Hillsdale, a Civil Air Patrol major, and Detective Fred Miller of the Westchester Police Department, Blough flew along the Lake Michigan shoreline from Calumet Harbor to Michigan City in a Cessna 210 for four-seater. Let's see. They made several passes along the beach and over wooded and summer home areas, taking aerial photographs that Blough would pore over endlessly, looking for any sign that might explain his daughter's fate. If I can just find one small fact that will be of use to the police, he said, hopefully in my heart I feel this is an abduction. My daughter is a regular reader of newspapers. If she were free to move, she would have read newspaper accounts of the search for her and friends, and she would have come home, he told anyone who would listen. Exactly. If she were running away, she would have taken more clothing and her contact lenses, her cosmetic case, and the keys for her car. Besides, she was completely wrapped up in her horse. She would not have run out on Hank. That weekend, Hank won $900 in a race at Winnipeg, but the winnings went uncollected. Renee Bruhl, father Joseph Flaneko, expressed confidence. I mean, $900 back then, man, that's like, jeez, probably almost $20,000 maybe, something. Renee Bruhl's father, Joseph Flaneko, expressed confidence that the three were still alive. He said he felt they had voluntarily left the area and were too frightened to return after seeing all the stir caused by their disappearance. Now let's see. $900 in 1966. Let's see. That was 8,426. So I wasn't right. About half of what I said. That's pretty, you know, it's pretty, that's a big chunk of money though. You gotta admit, like, yeah, I just looked it up, Daryl. Jesus. Man, you guys are, you type it in after the fact. Hey, I say 8,000 right after I've already put it up on the screen. Yeah, I mean, $8,000 is a big chunk of money for a kid that age not to get it. Let's see. As the investigation progressed, Burke too became more and more convinced that they had left the beach voluntarily. This did not preclude the possibility that they might have met. See, I think they left possibly just for like a quick little, hey, I'll just ride you around really quick, and then something really bad happened. A man from, like, they were already in the water, let's say, and the person goes, hey, let's just ride around a little bit. We'll stay right here. You can watch the beach. If somebody comes by, we'll come. And then did something to them right when they got in the boat. Well, you didn't type it before. I think what it is you guys are 20 seconds behind. So if you typed it in and then I say it and then I look down and then 20 seconds later or 15, it shows up in the chat. It's like, it looks like it's after. What do you mean you agree, Cindy? I just looked it up. I said the number on the screen, Cindy. Yep, I agree also. 8,000. Well, you don't have to agree. I typed it in. I mean, I looked it up on the screen. It's weird. Weird stuff. What do you mean, oh, I showed it on the screen. I literally went to a website and it showed it right up on there. It was 8,900 and something, or whatever it was. Wow. I think she is Jessica. She's doing the whole Zozo thing where she types it in later. You know, Zozo's going to pop in and type in 8,000. Well, you might as well go doze off somewhere else, Cindy. That'd be good. You look like you're sleepy. Always in a 30-second delay. Yeah, I wonder what the deal is in here with the delay. I mean, some of you are like on a 2-second delay, and then other people are on like 20. That's happened a couple times lately, though. Or we look something up and then boom. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If you're 20 seconds behind and it shows up in the chat 5 seconds after I say it, then it's you typed it in before I said it. It just looks funny on my end. That's why I wish it was just totally like the lowest amount of, what do you call it, lag. It's hard to get that though. I used to have it one time where it was 3 seconds, but now it's like 20. Get what I'm saying, Daryl? So yeah, you probably typed it in before I did. Even though on my end it showed up late. Right, but see on my end, Daryl, I said it, and then 10 seconds later it showed yours came in. So that just shows you how far you're behind. Right, Cindy always tries to answer really quickly, very rarely right, but she does try to throw something out really fast. Also, the last comment someone typed continues to repeat it over and over. Oh, really? Weird. Now, like if I did the thing where I say, I'm going to count to 3. How about this? Only Daryl gets to answer this. All right? So nobody else types something in. No, very rarely, Cindy. Very rarely. I follow along. That's why it's always so frustrating. All right, so here's the thing. I'm going to count to 3. As soon as I'm saying 3, Daryl, you type in a 3, okay? Just Daryl, though, all right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that was 10 seconds. See? That just proves it right there. Daryl was 10 seconds later. I didn't ask you to do it, Juniper Tarot, in Magic. Did you hear what I said? I said just Daryl. But somebody always has to do it. It's just bizarre. Yep, there's Zozo. Way later. Yeah, so Daryl's 10 seconds behind. So yeah, now I can see how that would work. That's pretty crazy. How do you do it on your end? I don't know how you do it. If you're behind and you typed in a 1. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know how that would work. No, it is lag. That's exactly what it is. So I guess I just can't judge anything on that part. It's like people just oftentimes people just seems like they're repeating what I'm saying, but they could have just had the original thought and it looked like that. And that's good then. That means we have similar minds, I guess. Yeah, we know, Georgina. Yeah. But some people are more behind. Like, are all of you guys refreshed where you're right up to the correct speed? Yeah. Well, not with you, Cindy, because you're not that far behind, so you're almost always repeating what I'm saying. Yeah, but everything is fine. No, I'm just the way it works. The lie, mama, drama, whatever, however you say that, is you can't tell that anything's not right, but what you're hearing in your head and what you're seeing on the screen actually happened 10 seconds before you see it. You get it? Like, we couldn't sing a duet together. Let's put it that way. It'd be like, how would it go? I can't even do one. Yeah. How? It'd be like this. All right, if I was going to rap and you were going to do each line, I'd go like this. All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Wow, that's not very fun. Right, see how long it took Lady Latuka? Well, not for you guys. It probably seemed like it was totally normal, right? It took 10 or 15 seconds for Lady Latuka and Diane Susie to type in collaborate. Hey, good night, Mama Forever. Thank you very much for your generosity again. Just so kind. Not even sure I deserve it. Thank you very much. Yeah, isn't that wild? So on my end, I said that and I counted to 12 before anybody typed in collaborate. Pretty weird, right? Pretty weird. I'm not going to do it again, Cindy. Jesus. You almost feel like you're a troll sometimes. So where were we at here? As the investigation progressed, Burke, too, became more and more convinced that they had left the beach voluntarily. This did not preclude the possibility that they might have met with foul play later. Yeah, see, there you go. See, Cindy, you're admitting it. I'm just kidding. A man from Ligonier, Indiana, who had been taking movies at the beach. So I want to hear this part here. Movies at the beach recalled that he had been panning the general area where the women had been last seen. He made the films available to authorities. I mean, this is before surveillance cameras. From the movie film and from hundreds of interviews with other people who had been at the beach July 2nd, police were able to narrow their search to 2 boats, a 26 to 28 foot cabin cruiser and a 16 to 18 foot trimaran runabout. The smaller boat is fairly distinctive because its 3-hole design, Burke explained. We know it was made of fiberglass and was operated by a man in his early 20s, well tanned with dark wavy hair and wearing a beach jacket. See, that one sounds like the best of the options because it matches what those witnesses that found the blanket and noticed that they were missing. Three girls were wearing the same colored bathing suits as Renee Bruhl, Patricia Blough, and Ann Miller were seen getting into his boat. Miss Blough, or the person we believe to have been Miss Blough, sat up front beside the man. Oh, wow. So this is on the camera. Three girls wearing the same colored bathing suits as Renee Bruhl, Patricia Blough, and Ann Miller were seen getting into this boat. Is this... Wait, hold on. We know it was made of fiberglass and was operated by a man. Okay, so this is from before. Three girls wearing the same colored bathing suits as Renee Bruhl, Patricia Blough, and Ann Miller were seen getting into this boat. Miss Blough, or the person we believe to have been Miss Blough, sat up front beside the man. Wow, they actually have this on video? I mean, on film? The other two girls sat behind. Burke said his investigators determined that the cabin cruiser had been spotted by a Gary attorney and his wife about 3 hours after the young women were seen getting into the small sailboat. Witnesses said the women were seen wandering around the beach getting something to eat and going off into the dunes. This raised the possibility that they might have come back to the beach in the sailboat and waited for the young man to get his friends with the cabin cruiser. Oh boy. The cruiser, believed to have been a 26-foot Trojan with 3 men aboard, came up close to the beach in the same area where the sailboat had been. One man left the cruiser and went directly to the beach and talked with 3 girls, according to one witness, who said they fit the description of the missing trio. The girls accompanied the man to the cruiser, boarded it, and put it into the lake. The Gary lawyer, Robert Blatt, who observed the incident from a distance, noted that the boat was equipped with a radio telephone antenna, but bore no name on the stern. He said he was too far away to determine the facial features of the 3 young women who boarded the craft. Burke said there appeared to be no question, however, that the women seen earlier aboard the trimaran were Blough, Miller, and Bruhl. Harold Blough still pressed his own private investigation, issued another plea for his daughter's return, and asked that anyone who might know the identity or whereabouts of the white trimaran with a turquoise-colored inside, please come forward. My wife is heartbroken, he said. Every time the telephone rings, a knife goes through her heart. She is afraid of what she will hear. We want Patricia back very badly. There must be someone who can help us. The air search continued with helicopters. Meanwhile, a thorough background investigation indicated all 3 of the missing women had skeletons in their closets and their families did not necessarily know about. Each of the girls had personal problems that could have motivated them to stage what would appear to be a possible drowning accident. Burke wrote in a log he kept on, so that those cushions and stuff were thrown in there intentionally. His notes, along with other reports in file number 133919, now kept at the State Police Post in Lowell, Indiana, were made available to reporters for the first time in preparation for this article. The earlier investigation had hinted at Bruhl's marital problems. Through their mutual interest in horses, Blough and Miller had come into contact with men who had criminal arrest records, the files showed, and on the night before they disappeared, both women had returned home near dawn. In March of 1966, about 4 months before the disappearance, friends of Blough's observed an inquiry to her face. Friends of Blough's observed an injury to her face that could have been caused by a fist. When they asked about it, she confided that she was in some sort of trouble involving some syndicate people she knows. Oh boy. This just gets crazy now, right? An acquaintance of Blough from Oak Park told investigators, "Patty told me I'm going to leave and nobody will find me." Blough was known to have a boyfriend named John Paul Jones, whom Burke described in his log as an ex-convict and rodeo cowboy. The file noted that FBI agents had twice interviewed Jones in California in connection with the disappearance, and he confirmed a romantic involvement with the missing horse owner, but denied any knowledge of her fate or whereabouts. In looking into Miller's personal life, police said they were told by her friends that she was 3 months pregnant and had talked of entering a home for unwed mothers. Wow, this just got crazy really quick. July moved into August, which faded into September, and still no word of the missing woman or any sign of the distinctive three-holed Actually, I think I still own a 8mm. I used to use that for stop motion with it, but man, it became so obsolete and meaningless once you got digital cameras out there. Well, you know what really sucks is we had 8mm films of us when we were babies and kids, and we think our dad, whoever it was, somebody came to our house one time and stole those things. It would be so cool just to see, like, me even moving around when I was like 4, In the early autumn, a Pontiac, Michigan man told authorities that a girl who had shared his seat with him on a Detroit-bound bus resembled one of the missing women. When the bus arrived in Detroit, the girl was met by 2 others who looked very much like the other 2 missing ones. The possible sighting gave rise to new hopes that the women had indeed run away and were alive and well. Harold Blough would have none of it, however. All 3 are either dead or being held someplace against their wills, he insisted. Patricia was an adult girl who was given every freedom. If she wanted to go somewhere, her mother and I would not object. She did not have to run away. Blough continued his search. He flew scores of missions over the southern end of Lake Michigan in his chartered planes, looking for his missing daughter in her yellow bathing suit. He even flew down to Nassau to check out a report which turned out to be false, that Patty had been seen there. On the outside chance that the 3 women were still alive and working somewhere outside the area, their families printed 5,000 circulars containing previously unpublished pictures of their daughters and sent them to friends and relatives in other states. Oh, that's Dear Abby. Man, that must have been when she was really, well, at 87, she was older, you know. I was thinking this is 60 something. Where the hell is the next one? Oh, it's 35, 37, should be on this one. No, it's 37, 38. And then 39 is this, here it is right here. So on July 2nd, 1968, the second anniversary of the disappearance, police received an unconfirmed report that Blough was seen riding in a pickup truck pulling a horse trailer in Monetta, a small town in Fremont County in the dead center of Wyoming. Burke dutifully contacted Wyoming authorities and asked them to be on the lookout for the missing woman. The case remains open to this day. Open but inactive, Sergeant Burke retired in 1971 after 21 years as an Indiana State Police officer. He spent the next 4 years working for the U.S. government as a police advisor in South Vietnam and was among the last Americans evacuated by helicopter from Saigon in 1975. From there he went to Saudi Arabia as security chief for the King Faisal Medical Center in Riyadh. Harold Blough, the father who refused to give up, retired and moved to Florida, but kept the communication lines open to Burke and Saudi Arabia exchanging theories about the baffling case. After Burke retired, the case was assigned to Sergeant Carmen. He and Trooper Weber thoroughly familiarized themselves with the disappearance. It was around 1975 when Lou and I were going through the paperwork on the investigation when we found this letter from the psychic, recalls Carmen, now commander of the Red Key Post in east central Indiana. The Montana spiritualist wrote, "I visualize a cabin on Lake Michigan, not too far from where the girl's beach blanket was found. There's a dark-colored sand. There are rickety wooden stairs leading up from the beach to the cabin on a bluff, with a lawn chair outside with its bottom out." The medium's letter went on to say the women's bodies were buried there. It piqued our curiosity. There was no indication in the file that anyone had looked into that aspect. The cabin described in the letter probably fit the location of several places, but we left the Indiana State Police, owed it to the families to investigate. We felt the Indiana State Police owed it to the families to investigate. Weber agrees. At this point, hey, even a letter from a psychic is worth taking a look at. Weber headed to the dunes, driving his police cruiser as far as the narrow roads would take him near Beverly Shores. Then he hiked the rest of the way into the dunes and eventually came upon the old cabin, nested in a small cove flanked by wooded dunes. It was less than 2 miles east of the spot where the young women had spread their beach blanket. I thought to myself that if a crime had been committed, this would be a great place for it, he recalls. No one could see into the cove from the beach, only from a boat on the lake. It was that secluded. Excited, he raced back to the headquarters and told Carmen of his find. Returning to the cove with Weber and 2 troopers, Carmen recalls his initial impression. It was an eerie coincidence. There was the dark sand, an old cabin with rickety stairs, and a lawn chair with the bottom broken out. Flushed with the excitement over the possibility that they had stumbled into something, he, Weber, and the 2 troopers dug up the entire yard, but the only thing they got over the 3 days was a good sweat. Investigators are no closer today to determining what happened to Patty Blough, Ann Miller, and Renee Bruhl than they were 21 years ago, when their personal belongings were discovered on the abandoned beach blanket. The fact that the troopers' shovels came up empty on that eerie visit to the secluded cabin does not mean that there is not or was not something there, Weber says. Over the years, the shifting dunes could have added 30 feet of sand to the area, or for that matter, drawn the sandy cover away from the possible burial spot, exposing it to animals, he explains. Those who have worked on the case have several theories as to the fate of the three women. They were involved in a horrible boating accident that left no physical trace of anyone aboard. They were victims of an abduction that turned to murder aboard the boat. That sounds more likely. Death, possibly murder, occurred after they left the boat in a bizarre climax to what had been planned as a voluntary disappearance. Miller's pregnancy might have led to an abortion death, and her two friends were slain to keep them from talking. Yeah, geez, I don't know. Burke, who retired to Florida, says that hardly a day goes by that he does not think about the case. It nags at me. I feel sure someday the answer will surface. Perhaps a suspect caught by police in another crime will admit this one, he says. If violence occurred, it involved all three together, he suggests. I'm certain at least one of them would have made contact with her family. One of them would have felt the need to get back in touch. I think that's it. Yeah, there was no more pages there. Anyways, I think that pretty much answers it. I don't know. That's just going to explain it just as good as this long thing here. Right. So this is what the Charlie Project has, this really long write-up, but it can't be any more than that was. Yeah. So. Anyways, that's going to do it, you guys. And we got to the goal tonight, which is cool. Got to the goal like an hour and a half ago, and then I read, and does that lake flood? Oh no, that really doesn't really matter. The truth is they just disappeared. I think they were probably got on a boat and were abducted and murdered somewhere. There's just almost no chance that three people at some point wouldn't have wanted to contact a family member or something like that at some point. And they left all their belongings. She didn't collect $8,000. Who the hell wouldn't do that? Nobody's not going to go collect the $8,000. Yep. I mean, of course you're going to go get that, then run away, right? Why wouldn't you get that first? See, that just proves it. Now, if they went in the water and they drowned on a boating accident, one of their bodies would have floated to the shore somewhere at some point. Because it's a lake. It's not the ocean where it just disappears. And so that never happened. It's just, there's so many things. It's pretty obvious. The running off thing doesn't even make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Well, hope you guys thought those were interesting tonight. Pretty old ones, but we had some newer stuff at the beginning. I'm not really interested in that one case with the two drug addicts fighting each other while driving across the country. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if either one of them killed the other one, and I wouldn't think one was more violent than I think. That case is just, I think they probably both bash each other all the time. It just doesn't mean anything. It's like one of those things. It's just drugs do that. Both of them. I know she was, Nikki. I said that at the beginning of the show. Yeah. Right. She should be in custody, too. Both of them should be in custody. It's not interesting at all. Okay, I think it's just one of those ones where it's sensationalistic, so everybody wants an answer. And everybody wants really badly for the girl to be the woman to be the victim, so it can be another Gabby Petito for everybody to start yelling, "Hey, look at that! The cops did." Forget it. That's nothing like it, man. These both are just whacked out druggies, selling phones probably for drugs, all kinds of shit. It just, if that's something you guys are interested in, well, find it somewhere else. It's absolutely, I'll throw out an update or something, but I'm not going to dig in and try to, what are all the facts? I need to know everything. It's sick. All right, let's get to this part right here. Now, they both physically harmed each other. Anyways, super chats, Jim Lawn, Doohickey, Amber Maiden, bye. Billy Juliana, Wendy Johnson, Juniper's Tarot and Magic, Terry, Paul Ayers, Teresa P, 15 Lee, Daphne, Travelin' Teresa, Danielle, Cindy Lynn, Annie Later, Hair Down D, Annabelle Stealth, Valerie H. Bama Forever with the double cat eye. Lanky Tor. Then we've got Saber. I don't know what that's saying. Second. Sweet Caroline. Katie Green. Bonnie Carey. Ellen Vaughn. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, are you guys really actually interested in that case? Like it's something... And I'm just asking because no matter what you say, I'm not doing it. Okay? I mean, if you got an update like, oh, hey, one of them blew the other one, one of them killed the other one. Oh, okay, cool. I'm not even, it doesn't even matter who did what. This one is they're both just whacked out, strung out people doing crazy things. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Yeah. And just so you know, here's what the reality is, everybody. She punched him in the face before she got punched in the face. So the bruise she has on her face, she had hit him. However, she's got the bruises all over her arms and everything. Did he do those before that one? Who the hell knows now? These guys are just violent morons doing drugs, driving around the country, doing who the hell knows what, acting like absolute lunatics. All of them. Okay? You can just tell by looking at them they're crazy people. And there's nothing of sort of like this interesting true crime angle about it. It's like watching reality, the Jerry Springer show on the move is what it is. All right. So there you go. The only time I'll bring it up again is if there's some crazy update where they both took out bazookas and shot each other with them to unalive themselves with bazookas. Yeah. I haven't even been watching. I don't have any clue what other people are covering, but I can imagine a few channels that are turning this into their centerpiece without even knowing. Yeah. Yeah, I don't care. Sort of any. I don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah, unalived. Got to say that now, right? Yeah. So, all right. Thank you guys for being here tonight, and didn't really make it to the, the goal that I set up is sort of the minimum goal. We didn't make it to the notebook level. So we'll have to save that one. But we got tomorrow night for our donation night. Now, donation night, I don't have a goal. There's no goal set up, so I'm not going to have one. It's just whatever it is, The goals are just for the nightly shows. There isn't one on donation night. I don't know what a goal is. Some donation nights are the last push of the month are amazing, and some are pretty good, and but they're totally different. There could be hundreds of dollars different, so I don't know what even to put there. But we've already done 3,000 this month. This is probably the hardest month I've worked in a long time. Basically 2 shows a day for the entire month, I think. And I think we still got a lot more days left in the Jodi Arias trial, so we'll be way into June, I can tell you that. Because there's going to be a rebuttal, all kinds of shit going on. Yeah, the whole unalive thing is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And the trigger bunnies, all that crap. I mean, if you're watching true crime and you need trigger bunnies and you have to say unalived and stuff, then you shouldn't be doing it. I will say that I'm not in. That's not very inclusive, Gray. You're not allowing people that get. I don't want the people that are triggered to watch my show. You get it? Like, I don't want the people who cry and get upset about every single. I mean, crying in crime is normal, but I mean, like, they get upset that you said something about something. I don't want those people. I want just regular people that can have a conversation and talk and do it. Whenever you see the people that go, "Oh God, you should have given me a warning before you put," no, I shouldn't have. I played it at the beginning of the show. You heard it, right? Yeah, and I'm not talking about people who cry when there's a murder or something, because like I can put myself in a situation, especially with kids, that I feel that way. I'm talking about when people get upset about the choice of words. If you don't use the right anti-trigger word. Somebody emailed me once and said, "Man, Gray, you started talking about stuff and you should have told us that you were going to show the pictures, and I just need you." And I go, "Listen, I'm never going to do it differently than the way that I'm doing it. Don't watch my show. Thank you." Okay? I mean, I literally said that back to the person in the email. I have the disclaimer, the thing at the beginning of the show is the warning message, okay? And if that's not enough for you, well, too bad, all right? I'm not going to make it different because you sent me an email. In fact, if you want to send me a 9-paragraph email, I likely won't have time to read it, and nor will I ever do anything that you're saying in it, okay? If you want to throw out a quick suggestion or something, I'll take a look at that. But the long ones mean that you're trying to control somebody else's life, and just not going to do it. But hey, you guys, it's been real. It's been fun. Don't let the door hit. Yeah, but you guys know, right? I mean, wouldn't you do the same thing? Like, I like people watching the show, but I'm not going to try to do something differently just to keep somebody a viewer. Like, oh, okay, If it's somebody that I really, respect and I communicate with, and they're saying, hey, you should try this, then I'll, give that a shot, right? But just some random schmo sending me an email, I just don't give a damn. You get it? Okay. Awesome. So thank you guys for being here tonight and going through that long story. There's another one. There's 2 longer ones that I have. One of them, I think I'll go through the shorter one. It's another crazy sort of... It's a murder case, but man, really weird circumstances again. It'll make you guys think. True dat, Daryl. Eh? That wasn't very good timing. Anyways, my nose getting plugged up again. So thank you guys for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen... I was hoping maybe you could see the dogs one last time, but they weren't there. Alright, anyways. See you guys later. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, flag rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Wiggle's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I mean a inspector with a vector on his vector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temple fucking check ya. I have no agenda. I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Jessica Schubach. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you.
Good night, everybody. Gee.
Hey, you sound like your nose is plugged too.
Yeah, it's weird how we always seem to have like the similar colds and things at the same time, Gray.
That is very weird. You might think about that, Mary Lou, of why that might be.
Well, what do you think it might be, Gray?
I'm not going to tell you, Mary Lou, but I think there's a reason you have a cold on the same day that I have a cold. It's weird. It's weird.
Gosh, Gray, just let me know, okay, Gray?
Nope, not going to do it. All right, see you guys later. Episode number, what is it? Day number 44 on the Jody Arias, I think. All right, see you. Bye.